Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Hurts under center. He goes with a pitch to Barkley. Barkley across the 30, 25, 20, 15, 10. Goodbye!
Hello.
Another one.
Hello.
40 yards. 40 yards.
He's unbelievable.
Who else? Merrill Reese, Eagles Radio Network. Saquon Barkley, 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and that's all she wrote for a game that was pretty ugly for 3 quarters, Perloff,
Oh, yeah.
and then your Philadelphia Eagles just ran away with it, literally, with Saquon Barkley.
It felt like the entire game, the Eagles were on the brink of exploding, and it just wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. I was starting to panic. Are the Eagles going to lose this game, that they are clearly outplaying the Commanders? Then finally it all came together.
It did. There were major turning points of the game beyond just Barkley, but even before that, Zach Bond, this is now the new guy in Philadelphia. He was kind of career sort of left for dead after being a New Orleans Saints draft pick. Philadelphia gets him, completely revitalizes, revamps his career, and it was a 4th and 2. This is the controversial one. Dan Quinn, the head coach of the Commanders, decides not to kick a 41-yard field goal, not to attempt a 41-yard field goal. Instead, they try to go for it on a 4th and 2. The snap is sort of bobbled. Jaden Daniels of the Commanders can't really get anything going. He starts running for the edge, and here comes Zach Bond, knocks him out of bounds, no gain. On the next possession, Saquon Barkley scores his first fourth-quarter touchdown, and it was off to the races.
Well, it wasn't just Zach Bond. You notice on pretty much every play of the game, including that 4th and 2, Jalen Carter, the Eagles defensive lineman, was in the backfield. He is, we had great promise for him. I think he fell to the Eagles at 9 because he had a lot of character issues with the driving incident.
Yep.
But he might be the Eagles' Aaron Donald. I mean, I think they mentioned him in comparison to Donald last night. I love a defensive tackle who blows up a game because they're just like forces of nature, and he's a force of nature. He blew up that play. That was a huge mistake by Dan Quinn. I knew it at the time. They had a 2nd and 2. They were terrible in short yardage last night.
4th and 2.
No, I know. They had 2nd and 2 and 3rd and 2, and they just can't get anything going in short yardage because they couldn't block Jalen Carter last night. That was a really bad idea. It was 12-10, 8 minutes left in the game. The Commanders could have gone up 13-12. They needed to make that a field goal game because the Eagles couldn't hit a field goal.
Yep.
Instead, they tried to make it a touchdown game. I thought that was a really bad strategy. I don't care what the analytics said. I could tell even before the play, Quinn screwed that up.
So the short yardage situations, you're right, were totally off for the
All day
Commanders,
long.
and which is weird because you've been hearing Jaden Daniels, dual threat quarterback. Why would you have trouble with short yardage? You should be gangbusters on short yardage.
They are, and up until tonight, they're one of the best 4th down teams in the league.
18 rushing yards for Jaden Daniels. He did have a cut that he got treated for during the game. But the other point you're making here, we're talking about last night's game where the Eagles win. They've now have control of the NFC East. This would have been a way bigger story. But the Eagles kicker missed 2 field goals and an extra point in a 1-score game. And it was dicey. I thought that guy wasn't going to make it out of the stadium. You know, you Eagles fans are nuts.
Well, Jake Elliott, the kicker, he's not just good. He's the best Eagles kicker of all time. Sorry, David Akers, if you're listening. Big fan of the show. He's incredible. I mean, he's been amazing up until this year. But it's not just him. Everybody, all of a sudden, Evan McPherson has probably cost Cincinnati the playoffs, and he's very similar to Jake Elliott. Like he hasn't missed a thing coming into this year. And our
Justin
Tucker. So
from the Ravens.
I'm telling you, Jake Elliott, the Eagles kicker, is in that conversation. Look at his numbers. He never misses anything, and all of a sudden, a lot of kickers are losing confidence. Jake Moody in San Francisco.
Well, he's got to have been a disaster.
Do you think it's possible they're all watching each other's game highlights and losing confidence at the same time?
No, I don't think it works that way.
It can't be isolated because there are very, very established kickers who are killing their teams right now. Jake Elliott's the latest.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because we always talk about how this is one of the biggest things that's different about this generation of football is guys who can kick 50-yarders with ease, like Brandon Aubrey from the Dallas Cowboys.
It's like a layup.
There's not a 50-yard field goal that guy has met that he can't make. But you're right. At the same point, guys are off. And actually, as we get into previewing some of these great games for this weekend with all these teams with gaudy records going up against each other, major news for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep.
And again, I know it's weird to say this is major news, but it is. Harrison Butker, their kicker, is going on IR.
He's fantastic.
One of the most clutch kickers. And not just that. these have all been one-score games for Kansas City.
Huge issue.
And Kansas City's had to come from behind in 8 of their 9 wins. So, yeah.
Let me give you a number on.
There we go. We're starting the show on a Friday. We're talking about kickers.
The special teams is the story of this year. Jake Elliott I did the stat last night, 15 of 17 from 50-plus over the last 3 years.
Wow.
I can't do the math, but that's like 94%.
That's good.
0 for 4 this year. 0 for 4. How do you go? What is happening?
Especially at home.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
There's something weird in the air. I think it's a league thing. I do not think it's just the Eagles. And by the way, the panic of you always have whenever Tyler Bass lines up for a field goal. I can feel the anxiety coming from 100 miles away.
I've literally had to get on an piece of exercise equipment.
Yeah.
Just because Tyler Bass, I should thank him actually because he's keeping me in shape.
I don't even need to see the first 59 minutes and 30 seconds of the Bills Chiefs. I'm telling you right now.
It's coming down to Tyler Bass.
It's coming down to one field goal kicker.
You're right about that. We'll break down that game in more detail. But, this was going to be a big game no matter what about who was really going to try to compete with the Detroit Lions in the NFC.
Right.
And I'm not saying that the Commanders are now pretenders or that, they're not going to be in the conversation. But they got some things to work out.
No, they're out. You could say it. They're not in the conversation.
Here's the one part that scared me a bit about the Commanders. First of all, there's been a bit of a Jaden Daniels kind of swoon. His offense coordinators, Cliff Kingsbury, the second half of the seasons have not been going well for him on the professional level or the college level. And you worry a little bit about Jaden Daniels now hitting, I want to say a rookie wall. It's too cliched. It's not what's happening, but it looked very difficult for them last night against the Eagles. So I'll just say that.
Yeah,
You're starting to lose a little confidence.
Oh, come on. Go ahead, say it.
Okay.
You know what you think. Everybody thinks it too. Cliff Kingsbury, second half, swoon. Jaden Daniels, rookie wall.
We're keeping an eye on it.
Well, so it's been 2 games. Think about it. It's been the Steelers' defense, which is great, and they're very good against mobile quarterbacks. And I have to do a mea culpa. I think this Eagles defense is pretty good,
They
too.
have turned their weaknesses into major strengths.
So is it a function for Jaden Daniels of him struggling about the excellent defenses he's faced?
I mean, it's possible. Listen, the Washington schedule really lightens up here. The Cowboys next week, the Titans, the Saints. They've got a couple on paper wins here, but it's going to all depend on Daniels. And I thought really two things that I was a little, bummed for the Commanders about last night. One, they could not get the ball to McLaurin. And you talked about Jalen Carter because they're getting so much pressure up front. None of these explosive plays could happen.
Yep.
And so that was number one. And then number two, I thought after the Barkley first touchdown of the fourth quarter, that kind of blew it open. That second touchdown that really was the one that iced the game, that was so easy. That is the easiest touchdown run he is ever going to have, the one that we played for you. There was a hole wide enough where EJ, 2 weeks off of his torn knee, could have run for a touchdown there. And I was like, ooh, the Commanders just laid down there. Like they either a mental lapse or they were tired or they were beaten up, something. The defense showed no resistance in that second touchdown.
I don't read it like that. Like you're saying it's a lack of effort.
Or focus or something.
No, I don't think so. I think the Eagles' offensive line was destroying them all game long. If Jalen Hurts had had a better game, they would have scored. And the kicker was alive. They would have scored 40 points because that offensive line is much better than the Commanders' defensive line. You forget about the Commanders. They cobbled together this sort of misfit toys on defense. Like guys.
Well, Jonathan Allen's not a misfit toy. These are first-round picks.
Yeah, but I mean like the older players like Bobby Wagner and all of a sudden Jeremy Chin's out there. Like, oh, he's a Commander. Like this is not. We came in the season like they are cobbling together this defense. Nobody thought they'd be good. I think the personnel at the end of the day caught up. The Eagles have much better personnel. So I think I see what you're saying. Like,
and it was a game into the fourth quarter,
but it shouldn't have been a game because the Commanders couldn't block the Eagles' defensive line and they couldn't handle the Eagles' offensive line. It should have been. I honestly think.
More comfortable,
I think Kellen Moore kind of got Dan Quinn outcoached Kellen Moore through 3 quarters. I don't think Jalen Hurts is comfortable in Kellen Moore's offense. Does he look like he's got command of what's going on? Or
not really.
He looks very uncomfortable. It's just really Saquon eventually just kind of like the Ravens, like eventually open holes for your star running back. That's your best weapon. I just, anytime Kellen Moore loves to do play action and Jalen Hurts just does not seem comfortable. Like something's way off there.
Yeah, 855-212-4227, yes.
But I think both Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels were fine, but not explosive last night, right?
I just wonder, are you ready to jump off the Jaden Daniels? I'm not saying bandwagon. We loved watching him in college. Are we going to hear from Daniels in a major way again this season? Or are we starting a second half slide here?
Well, you did read that.
He's going to look more mortal.
I was ready to jump off until you read me that schedule.
There's wins here.
Yeah.
There are wins here.
There could easily be a playoff trip.
Oh, I think they're making the playoff. I mean, they're 7-4.
I think any rookie quarterback making the playoffs is significant.
No, it's massive. I'm just wondering if the second half of the season is not going to look like the first. I mean, he's the runaway candidate for Offensive Rookie of the Year. We're asking questions about whether or not you'd want him over Caleb Williams. If you redrafted, would he have gone number one overall? Well, let's see. Because let's see how this looks the second half of the season with Daniels, and then let's see what happens with Caleb Williams with a new offensive coordinator. I don't know if people think that's going to be a major change. And by the way, Bo Nix might make the playoffs.
I was going to say, is the debate who would you take number one, Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams still? Or is it Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix? I'm just saying, like, Caleb Williams doesn't look like he's giving Jaden Daniels much competition for this discussion.
We still have a little less than half of a season
It keeps getting worse and worse in Chicago. What are you talking? Okay. I would even do a show. There's no way Caleb Williams, you see one sign of improvement there that he's going to catch up with Jaden Daniels? No way.
Well, I don't know, but I know that it couldn't get any more rock bottom than having to fire your offensive coordinator in a season where you have a rookie quarterback. That's not what anybody wants to do. It's throwing everything into a spin cycle. Right. And so maybe you actually see a better Caleb Williams on the other side of this. I don't know. I'm willing. I want to see at least.
Yeah, I'm really skeptical that they're going to figure this out. You keep pointing out they have offensive line issues.
That's true.
And this guy they hired, Thomas Brown, is coming off a rough stint in Carolina. I don't see that happening. And I think maybe just focus on next year with Caleb Williams. Let's leave him out of this.
All right.
Leave him out of this.
Fair. 855-212-4227. So a little on the Commanders side, and Jaden Daniels having just kind of an ineffective game, to be honest. Like, he didn't embarrass himself. He threw one bad pick, and it was definitely trying to do too much. It was the Reed Blankenship, right? Came up with that interception, probably the easiest catch he's going to have in his life.
Jaden Daniels, one thing he does, he does not throw a lot of picks.
No, he doesn't.
And I was watching.
But he was forcing it. It was obvious.
Well, generally though, but that was a rare play for him because the Eagles desperately needed an interception all game, and I'm like, oh, just put it in harm's way, dude. You're losing. Just put it in harm's way, and he wouldn't do it. Then he finally, you put it perfectly. He was trying to do too much because they were struggling.
And then on the flip side, are you taking the Eagles a little bit more seriously now? Because I think for a while, the Eagles have always had this impressive-looking roster, Jalen Hurts and Barkley, and you've got this great offensive line. Perloff is the president of the Lane Johnson fan club,
And Jordan Mailata, too. Oh, my God, the
night.
video of him, talk about a dancing bear.
And Jalen Carter, and we know Nakobe Dean, and we know all these guys because of the Georgia, how much success they had at Georgia, not to mention A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, it's stars everywhere. But I think a lot of people thought they may have been an unserious football team, because the things that were around them were so silly. The head coach is a clown at times. Big Dom is a thing in our lives. Like, this is not what serious teams do. But, Pearl, I think, and I'm not just saying this about last night, now your team has won 6 in a row, and 2 of those wins have been against the Cincinnati Bengals impressively, and now really making Jaden Daniels look like more of a rookie. Are you willing to be a little more serious about the Eagles' chances and the Eagles as a contender now?
Yeah, definitely. But I don't think the Eagles fans, maybe that's like the outside view, that silliness was going on. Like you mentioned Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean was one of the worst players in the entire NFL last year. And now
he's hurt too. He got hurt.
When he was on the fly, I mean, was he hurt or was he benched? Like, it was always a thin line. He could not do anything. Now all of a sudden he's good. I credit Vic Fangio for that. Last year, they started out 10-1. Then Jalen Carter hit the biggest rookie wall you've ever seen in your life. And I do worry that. So all of a sudden, these guys are showing up. And Zach Bond, I don't know where he came from. The backstory that he was an edge rusher in college. New Orleans drafted him.
Came from Wisconsin, I guess.
New Orleans drafted him in the 3rd round as an edge rusher. And now he can play middle linebacker? Wow. How does an edge rusher all of a sudden become this very effective covering running backs guy? And he's all over the field. This is unexpected. These defensive players stepping up, and the rookies playing okay. I mean, they're pretty good. That doesn't happen.
Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell last night was phenomenal. Terry McLaurin couldn't get anything. And I think that was a lot of the pressure up front.
Yeah, but generally, like this is very surprising to me that the defense is so good.
That's interesting too about Bond to start as basically like a pass rusher kind of, and then go to linebacker. It's rare that when you go from college to the pros as a defensive person that you move out. Usually you're moving up, right? Because your speed is kind of going down.
NFL does have
a lot of guys don't go from linebacker to safety corner. It doesn't move backwards in the NFL.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't make any sense. You're right, but they do tend to drop pass rushers into coverage now. It's always comical. I'm really impressed with the Eagles defense. Again, their schedule's been somewhat soft, so we'll see. I mean, I'm not sure beating the Commanders at home right now is that quality win. I think beating Cincinnati seems like a bigger quality win, 37-17. I don't know how they match up against the Lions. Do you have any sense? That's a question.
The big question now because it looks like the two best teams in the NFC. We'll see if we end up hearing from the 49ers at all.
I wouldn't count the Packers out
and
either.
The Packers as well, but Jordan Love's has been banged up. They're coming off their bye, the Packers, this week. EJ, what was your bigger takeaway? Jaden Daniels maybe hitting a wall, or are you taking the Eagles a lot more seriously now?
I am taking the Eagles more seriously, but I look at the Washington situation, and we say Jaden Daniels. I'm saying Cliff Kingsbury. Because what have we seen in Cliff Kingsbury's entire career in the NFL?
Yeah.
Is the offense comes out, looks great, looks revolutionary. We're like, wow, this looks like something new. Like, this is going to be great. And right around, the temperatures start to drop right below 50 degrees. There's a little wind in the air. There's a little chill in the air. And all of a sudden, Cliff Kingsbury offenses can't move the ball.
Yeah.
And what I watched last night looked very familiar to what I saw in Arizona for 4 years, however long he was there. So I think if you're Washington, you got so much cushion, I think you probably make the playoffs. But I think moving forward with Cliff Kingsbury, you got to wonder, okay, does he have another ace up his sleeve? Or is this going to be the same thing every year with this guy where you're going to start off really good and the first half of the season game plan's great, and then when they adjust, he has no other options.
Right. 855-212-4227. It's a good point because they got Brian Robinson back last night.
Yeah, and it looked good to start the game a little bit, and then it's like they couldn't go back to him. It's like it didn't look like they were never comfortable. That's what it looked like to me. The receivers didn't look comfortable. It just was a kind of a mess of a game offensively, and the Eagles kept them in it with all the missed field goals.
I mean, here's the thing. Washington's built up a lot of wins against bad teams, so they can beat a bad team. Like they beat their 3-game win streak, the Giants, the Bears, and the Panthers. Maybe including me, maybe overestimated how good they really are. That's another thing about
that Bengals win. I think really kind of changed everybody's thoughts of them, but that's true.
But early season Bengals are such a weird team. So anyway, yeah, maybe Cliff all along has had easy schedules in the first half of the season. That being said, they did move the ball against Pittsburgh. I think Maggie laying out that schedule has me back on the Commanders bandwagon. Thank you, because I mean, of course, they're a division rival of my team, but I do root for Jaden Daniels. You kind of got to root. Dan Quinn is all fired up. They're a likable team, which is so funny because that franchise was unlikable for so long.
Yeah, it's true. They have changed the vibe. Although I thought Al Michaels and Herb Street were good last night. Kaylee Hartung, they're good. I know Manny. I thought they were good last night. I thought they rose to the occasion. The game was not that interesting. They kept giving me some little things to keep me interested. But we're going a little over the top now, I think, with the Washington stuff.
What do you mean?
I get it. They were in the Dan Snyder era, so embarrassing.
Right.
But now they're going the other way where it's like, they've imagined that they have all of a sudden fixed this culture overnight. And the reasons they're saying, I think to me, are a little bit like flimsy. Like they have 13 former NFL players on their coaching staff. So how many do the Lions have? Of course they have former players on the coaching staff. Every team has former players on the coaching staff. That to me didn't feel like a reason to say, wow, this is why the culture has changed. It's like, no, Dan Snyder's out and they got rid of a lot of people at the top. And it only took 14 Washington Post exposés to finally get him out. And now they've got new ownership and the vibe has changed. It's not because they have 13 former NFL players on the coaching staff.
Yeah, I don't know if Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit talking about how many players was it opening for you to shred an NFL owner, which is your favorite thing to do?
No, he's been fine. I mean, I don't know how 76ers fans feel about him.
Dan Snyder. I'm saying.
Yeah, well, Snyder deserves it every time.
That has nothing to do with Dan Snyder. I mean, first of all, too, they have Bobby Wagner. I mean, it's cute. You're getting to see it. It's like a vintage team. It's like, you know how you go and get a vintage clothing, a sweater? That's Bobby Wagner on your defense. I don't know why. What do you all of a sudden you have a problem? Okay. You might as well celebrate this.
They're overcorrecting.
I don't know. They're a fun team. They're easy to root for because they really shouldn't be. They're 7-4. There's no way they should be 7-4. I mean, look at this team they put together. It's not ideal. I mean, the number 2 receiver is De'Ami Brown, right?
Yeah, no, that's got to change.
And also, Zach Ertz was left for dead, and now he's like their second best target.
That was a nice moment with Ertz putting his arm around Jade Daniels, after he threw a bad
Yeah,
pick.
no, I think he should be positive. Al Michaels did screw up that 4th and 2 play. He thought it was 3rd and 2. That was, you could clearly say, he's like, it took him forever to understand that it was 4th and 2. Anyway, that was a bad mistake because it was a critical play of the game. But you're right. I thought they did a nice job. It wasn't a great game, I'll give you that, but at least it was competitive.
Manny was bored.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to see somebody throw long touchdowns. Remember when Michael Vick played Washington on primetime? That's the best primetime game. When he, on like the second play of the game, fake left and threw a 90-yard pass downfield to Deshaun Jackson. Like, I needed some of that. Not much of that last night.
No, the explosive plays really aren't a part of the NFL experience much anymore.
That's 2 straight games now. That's just dog. This game sucks.
What was the other
More
one?
Manny mean tweets. Miami and the
Monday Night
Rams.
Football.
That was competitive. I hear what you're saying, but it's better than
great competitive.
It's better than 35-7.
I'd rather have 35-7. That game you were talking about, Michael Vick, that was a blowout, but it was exciting as hell because he was putting on a show.
855-212-4227. It gets us into a bigger discussion. Today you can call in about, anything, obviously. We open the phone lines to you. Jaden Daniels, do you feel a swoon coming? And are you taking the Eagles more seriously? But also just a lot of people complaining about the quality of play in the NFL. We'll get into that a little bit more. 855-212-4227. We also have some fun quotes from Mike McCarthy coming your way. And we have big games this weekend. Hopefully it'll be a lot better, a lot more entertaining than last night. Okay, Maggie and Perloff, let's go.
Sports fans, listen up. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and bladder leaks can be a side effect. That's why Depend is teaming up with the Prostate Cancer Foundation to encourage screening. Because health is a long game, and it's yours to win. Here's the cool part. Through November, Depend is contributing up to $300,000 to prostate cancer research by donating 40 cents for every purchase of Shields, Guards, and Real Fit products. Void in Mississippi. Learn more at depend.com.
You're in a 4.5-minute break. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Breaking down the Eagles' win over the Commanders last night. But we have a sort of an inner show issue going on.
What's that?
Party lines have been drawn. There's Team Maggie and Team Bogish on one key issue. What's worse, a broken glass on the ground or Legos on the ground? And surprisingly, my daughter, Emma, is Team Bogish in a big way. She's like, Maggie does not understand. We had a long discussion about this last night, how dangerous having Legos on the ground is. And I said, well, Maggie said you don't go to the ER because of Legos. And she said, au contraire, you do go to the ER because of Legos, because Bogish is claiming that his kids deserve to step on broken glass. They keep leaving out Legos. That was an actual quote.
It was a quote. Bogish is in major trouble. I mean, you can talk about whether or not you're in the doghouse at your actual house, but yeah, basically at Bogish's house, it can be like that scene in Die Hard where the guy had to walk over all that broken glass, and that's totally okay. Where do you have to get a Lego lodge to go to the ER?
Oh, your throat?
I've been in the ER too many times this year. You'll see some weird stuff there. Yeah.
Oh, no. I wasn't thinking of a Lego lodge. I meant like stepping on it and tripping or something.
A laceration, something.
Yeah. I mean,
I was talking about having a young child. There's no bigger code red in your home than if someone breaks a glass, because they're walking around with no socks on a lot. And they're just all over. They're just so close to the floor. They're just on the floor all
I have a bigger code red.
What's that?
Some idiot gave my kids this old game called Jacks. Do you know what Jacks are?
Yes, Bogish just had this whole thing happen
on Halloween.
Oh, what happened?
A lady was so excited to see me. She went, and I don't know who she is. She went running in her house and came back out and very dramatically presented me with a bag of Jacks.
I do remember this, but did you keep them? Because if a Jack gets on the ground and you step on that, you really might have to go to the ER.
They're like ninja stars almost. They're
little ninja stars.
Yeah, it's like the same as stepping on a rusty nail. By the way, did you ever hit a message board, like a QAnon thing, to figure out what this woman was trying to tell you with the Jacks?
I didn't want to create any kind of internet paper trail. I just wanted to move on, not understand it, in no way connect with her or find out something horrible. But the Jacks are sitting on my son's dresser right now.
Get rid of
yesterday,
them.
actually.
Get rid. That's a trip to the ER.
That's definitely a hazard in the home.
Unless he wants
They're
to play
still in the
ninja.
bag, thankfully.
But if she would, but she's not trying to like hurt you. She was excited to give you this bag of jacks, and we have no idea what the double meaning is of this. You're not curious at all?
I'm scared. I don't want to know. It's kind of like aliens. I assume they're out there. I don't need to know the specifics. Something was weird with this woman. I don't want to know exactly what. Let's just move on.
Can I tell you a surprising Andrew Perloff as a kid fact? Owned many ninja stars, was obsessed with ninjas, and went to like flea markets and bought like ninja stuff.
That doesn't seem safe.
No. But the thing is, if you buy a ninja star there is nothing less sharp and less dangerous than a ninja star at a garage sale. Like they're so dull. I would throw them. They just clang against the wood.
That might have been operator error.
No. Seriously, like
No
these
one's
things.
ever
wrist
said,
in that, sweetheart.
You know who looks like they'd be a great ninja? McLovin.
No, back in the 80s, they used to sell. There was a big ninja thing. Like ninjas were super hot.
You know,
in
my
the
dad
80s.
had ninja stars. I know exactly what you're talking about. He
Yeah,
tells it all
yeah.
the time.
I get it. I grew up
Yeah.
with Ninja Turtles. Like that,
Yeah.
and they're still very big.
There was this string of real ninja movies that were just red hot when we were like 11, and we all had ninja stars. We all had nunchucks. And then, like everyone thinks
And
they know how to use
everyone's
nunchucks, and like you would do the nunchucks, and you like sort of like hit your arm by accident.
Give yourself a concussion.
Yeah, but you still feel so cool. Yeah,
That's one
was
of the coolest things I had at Comic-Con a couple weeks ago was seeing actual like weapons. Like someone had like the Daredevil Bully Club.
Oh
where
yeah,
you
yeah.
can pull it out and it becomes like a
super cool.
two thing. And then like he's like, oh, feel it. And I'm like, this is a real weapon.
Yeah.
Like the wrong person would buy this and then start like clubbing people over the head.
Yeah, America's super soft right now by not giving children real weapons.
Sounds like you're on my side. You want
Yeah. In the 80s,
More shards of glass and nunchucks and
I mean,
ninja stars for
I grew up.
kindergartners.
I mean, it is crazy to be a parent now because I grew up. I would be sitting shotgun when I was 4 years old with no seatbelt in the family station
driving the
wagon.
car.
I'd be smoking a cigarette, which were healthy at the time, throwing ninja stars. I'm telling you, things are regulated for children. Like, yeah, you know what I mean, Maggie. Like
Yeah.
when we were kids, anything went. Now it's really hard to be a parent.
The idea, the visual of Perloff with a cigarette dangling out of his mouth,
ninja star
driving
in
a
hand.
station wagon, just twirling some nunchucks
And
with a booster seat.
no one
suburbs
had
of
any
Philly.
problem like sitting a young child in front of Gilligan's Island for 7 hours at a time. Totally fine back in 1982. Now I guess it's frowned upon.
Supposedly.
Now it's an iPad and the
I know. What's worse? Ninjas, are we still doing ninjas? Do they still exist?
I don't really feel like it's a
like special
thing.
ops.
no.
you know?
There's a trend, at least in New York City. There's a class. It's called Ninja-te, where it's a ancient study of the ninja arts that a lot of people take. It's like a martial art.
Isn't there? My kids loved a ninja show on Disney Junior. Does that still exist?
No clue. I mean,
Can we put
Frame
that
it-
poll up? Are ninjas still a thing?
and I feel like then all of a sudden someone in a black mask is going to come in and slit our throats.
Drop through the ceiling.
Or like you throw one of those things on the ground and it creates a big smoke.
Yeah. If I could secretly be a ninja, that would be so cool, right?
It'd be shocking if you were secretly a ninja.
It'd be cool only for you though, because no one would know that you're a secret ninja, so you couldn't actually like celebrate it.
Well, that's
Yeah, you gotta-
true.
But you got to be
But
a
I
lot
would
more
know.
mysterious.
I would know. Yeah, ninjas are the art of deception. Maybe I am a ninja.
You're not.
I'm I'm 6'4", 200 pounds, totally awkward. It'd be very hard for me to be a ninja.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say you've made several trips to the ER over a finger.
Oh my!
I don't know if that's ninja.
I have
It's all
part of the
I have
rouge.
4 broken fingers. My hands are secretly like Brian Baldinger's. I have terrible hands.
They're all going a different direction.
You think it's just the fingers? You know how many times I've been in the ER after basketball? At least 27 times. 2 concussions, 50 knee injuries. I have stitches all over my body from awkwardly running into things. It's called Ninja-te.
But maybe you're a
Thank you.
ninja.
And I'd be the world.
Maybe I'm Glenn
That's
Powell.
why. Yeah, they won't see it coming.
I know it's an old reference, but there is an old Seinfeld episode where Kramer takes up karate, but he's only doing it with
Yeah, yeah.
children.
Yeah, I love
He's
that
down at the dojo, and everyone's 9 years old, and
Oh,
he's
it's
kicking their
so
butts,
good.
and then they finally get revenge on him in a back alley. Good episode.
Yeah, when all of Kramer's friends think that he's bragging about, I'm a brown belt, I'm a black belt. Whoa, he's really killing it. And then they come down and Jerry discovers they're 8 years old.
Yep.
That's great. That would be me. I'm going to take this ninja class. I'm going to sign up. I'm not joking.
It's going to end badly. Bogusch has headlines for us.
These headlines are sponsored by Prize Picks. Football season's here, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Download Prize Picks, use code MANDP, and get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. Must be present in certain states where it's lawful to wager. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details. His team was down 12-10, approaching the midpoint of the fourth quarter in Philly last night. Dan Quinn could have opted for a go-ahead 43-yard field goal, but instead, his Commanders went for it on fourth down.
On 4th and 2, Daniels under center. Daniels puts a man in motion. Daniels is back. He's being chased. He's running. He's being pushed. He's knocked out of bounds. The Eagles take over on downs. The Eagles take over on downs.
Merrill Reese on Eagles radio. Philly turned that into a Saquon Barkley 23-yard touchdown run, then picked off Jaden Daniels, turned that into another Barkley TD sprint. Philly winning 26-18. No regrets, though, for Quinn.
Going into it, we knew we'd have to take our shots against a tough division team on the road, and we thought that was an appropriate one. Certainly don't like the execution and the result, but we were prepared for that and being bold into those moments, knowing we'd have some fourth downs.
His team has now dropped 2 in a row and is a game and a half behind these Eagles in the NFC East. The Philly win streak is 6. Jalen Hurts threw for 221 yards, ran for a score, and cleared a concussion check in the second quarter.
Yes, I beat the protocol.
Beat the protocol.
Is that what he said?
Yeah. Did he beat the protocol?
Beat the case. I love
Yes, I
it.
beat the protocol.
Yeah, and then he said he didn't remember much about the hit that triggered the check, so he kind of made a joke about a concussion, and then said he didn't remember getting possibly one.
I'd love to know what are the questions they're asking them during the concussion test. If one of them isn't, do you remember what just happened?
Yeah. I mean, so yes, every time you hit your head, you don't get a concussion, but you also might not know you have a concussion right away. That this is the weird, like, is that a paradox? Like with this situation, like the symptoms are not immediate always.
All I know is Amazon doesn't pay billions of dollars to see Kenny Pickett coming in the second quarter. So NFL is not taking Jalen Hurts out of that game.
Another Bezos call.
I mean, the NFL it seems like that concussion lawsuit was a long, long time ago. They do not care like they did. 5 years ago, they'd at least give lip service to concussions. Now it's like you go back in the game, just rub some salt on it, dude.
Do you guys remember, can you remember recently the guy in the press box
The
calling down to tell someone to come
Spotter.
off the field?
Yeah.
No, I don't hear that
I think
much.
they're on the sideline now.
Is that why?
Oh yeah, there used to be a spotter.
Right. I'm like, I feel like there have been times like where you can remember like the official stopping the game. Like you can see him like go get somebody and walk him off. I don't feel like that's happened in a long time.
Yeah,
watching
but
games.
maybe they don't announce it. You're right. I don't remember hearing that. I mean, we all see it. Chris Olave's hit, like, you don't need an independent
Right,
well, he
of
was
course.
really. But the independent neurologist is still a thing. They said that yesterday.
Yeah.
And his name is Larry Goodell. Totally independent. It's basically, it's weird. He's like
Beth
Roger
Bezos.
Goodell wearing a fake mustache. The independent neurologist. Independent from who? I mean, geez.
I just love the idea of Goodell showing up with like a wig on and a fake mustache and a doctor bag, being like, "Here I am," like Fletch trying to get into the
Bobby Valentine style.
Bobby Valentine.
Kelly Hartong's like, Jalen Hurts is in the tent with the independent neurologist.
Schmodger Schmidl.
Yeah.
The only guy, this guy, he has bad luck. The only guy I feel like that actually was stopped by the independent neurologist was Jamal Adams. Remember, he went to fight the guy.
Was that this season?
That was
No.
last season.
Okay.
That was crazy.
Well,
That guy can't catch a break.
That's on brand for
Jalen
Jamal.
Hurts basically doesn't remember anything. Jamal Adams has to fight a guy to get back on the field.
totally on brand for Jamal Adams. So.
We're just
Absolutely.
done with Jamal Adams.
Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker now likely to land on IR. He needs meniscus surgery. KC is signing Spencer Schrader off the Jets practice squad. Just one game in the NBA last night. The Jazz snuck past the Mavs 115-113 for their first home win of the season. Luka Doncic, 37.7 rebounds, 9 assists in the loss. Georgia running back Trevor Etienne is out tomorrow against Tennessee. He suffered an upper body injury 2 weeks ago, then got just 6 carries in last week's loss to Ole Miss. Braves lefty Chris Sale, White Sox lefty Garrett Crochet picked comeback players of the year by MLB.com beat writers. Apparently, there was a baseball awards show last night.
I think it was in Las Vegas.
I'm sure it was. It'd be nice if somebody told us about it.
Did they hand an MVP and stuff?
No, these are lesser level, maybe unofficial awards.
For an award show, they don't even give out the big ones?
No, the big ones start next week in they each have their own day.
What kind of lame award show is that?
Baseballs.
Did you see Shota Imanaga singing "Go Cubs Go"? That was part of the award show.
Again, I had
last night.
no idea this was happening.
Why does baseball have the worst award situation ever? They will drop in Golden Gloves
On a
at
Sunday
like 11
night.
p.m. Sunday nights. There are award shows that nobody knows about that are apparently being televised.
Yeah.
We don't know when the MVP is going to get dropped. This is bizarre.
We do know there are a date for the awards. They do start next week, but they might as well put this on election night. Like who?
They don't do off season well. Like they're
Not even a little bit.
They've never been able to get the draft going.
The draft is in their season.
It's in July now.
No
It's
wonder.
right in All-Star Weekend or
Yeah.
All-Star Week, whatever they want to call it. Which I actually don't mind that part of it. I think that's kind of cool. But everything they screw everything else up.
Honestly, the biggest thing they have that I don't think they capitalize enough on, well, the draft, yeah, but also the futures game. Like
That's so fun.
that should be way bigger.
No,
what?
there was an era. Yeah, I don't
Exactly.
know. I guess people do they not care about prospects as much anymore?
No, the problem with baseball is that they don't play in the majors right away.
Yeah.
Like that's the hurdle they can't fix is that every other draft's like, oh my God, did you see blah
the
blah blah?
savior
And
is
then
coming,
he's
yeah.
in the game that year. You can watch the draft and not see that guy for 5 years in baseball. That's its problem.
How do we speed them up the minors?
You can't. A little hockey. Let's close with that history in Edmonton last night.
Tried to get it low, and it was knocked out of the air by Nurse. He'll give it to Draisaitl down the left wing to McDavid. Scores! There's the 1,000 points, and the Oilers have tied this game at 1, and they all come off the bench to mob Connor McDavid.
That's Jack Michaels on Oilers Radio. Connor McDavid, the original Perloff Connor crush, getting his 1,000th career point with that goal in a 4-3 OT win over Nashville. McDavid is the fourth quickest to 1,000. Only Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, and Mike Bossy needed fewer games to get there. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thanks so much. Coming up, we've got so many great games this weekend and also a bit of advice for America's team. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Young Perloff hit the flea market stand, a $10 bill in his sweaty little hand. He said, I need ninja stars, the kind that can slice. Kids need weapons, this country's too nice. At Erica's Soft Pizzeria Shane, kids need throwing stars to up their game. All Peter Bellatti's messing around, skipping work again, he's nowhere to be found. Back in my day, we played with sharp steel, not just plastic stuff that doesn't feel real. Meanwhile, Peter Boney's messing around, skipping work again, he's nowhere to be found. Back in my day, we played with sharp steel, not this plastic stuff, it doesn't feel real. Andrew says, teach him young, give him some grit, but Bellatti's too lazy to give a rip. At Erica's Soft Pizzeria Shane, kids need throwing stars to up their game. All Peter Bellatti's messing around, skipping work again, he's nowhere to be found. Now Perloff's grown, but he'll tell you the same. Give kids sharp stuff, stop playing this lame game. But Peter Bellotti, that guy's a mess, still skipping work, he's got no finesse. So next time you're browsing a flea market aisle, buy ninja stars and stop being mild. But if you see Peter, tell him to hustle, cause we're all busting our butts while he's avoiding the struggle.
2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Perloff, we got so many great games this weekend in the NFL, college too. But we've got to pause for a second because, we might not be able to talk about the Dallas Cowboys much for the rest of the year because they are teetering on irrelevance. However, head coach Mike McCarthy said that if Dallas did turn their season around, this would be an all-time great story.
These moments really confirm, who you are, why you're here. And that's the way I look at it. I think this is an incredible opportunity for this football team, what's in front of us, to be into this valley of adversity. And I think to come out of this would be a great story.
Okay, a little more from McCarthy. He said the team is focused on the Texans, but also told them they have a great opportunity to do something special here.
There's a ton of work, and the only work we're really focused on is really beating the Houston Texans. But man, this is a great opportunity for us. And I tell these guys, repeatedly, just enjoy this. This is something that you can really learn from for the rest of your life.
This would be the worst thing ever for the Cowboys if they turn things around. I don't even know what a turnaround necessarily looks like. I guess sneaking into the playoffs.
Wait, why? I don't get it. Why would that be bad?
Well, that's your Cowboy Quickie. The wake-up call that is needed to actually make some changes on this team has to be so big that Jerry has to leave no doubt that Jerry has to make some changes. Because
you got to hand it to him on a silver platter.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because, stop me if you've heard this one before. If somehow the Cowboys go on some kind of run with Cooper Rush as a backup quarterback, and then people go, look at Mike McCarthy. Look at he's doing more with less and all of that. Is anyone 100% sure that McCarthy's not coming back? And listen,
shut up and let me answer.
I've got no dog in this fight. Thank you, Manny. I've got no dog in this fight, but I know Cowboy fans in our lives and listeners, they don't want him back. So if you're a real Cowboy fan and you really want things to change with the organization in terms of a coach or whatever, You gotta hope this thing gets way worse before it gets better.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to get way worse. They're 3-6, or 3-7, 3-6. One of those two. Anyway, it can't get way worse. They're non-competitive right now. So they're fine. You don't have to worry about that. I thought you were talking about tanking for a pick. The problem, one of the other issues is they have Dak Prescott on the hook for $60 million a year. That makes you feel kind of hopeless. Like, what's the point of even being bad?
Well, you're hoping, first of all, the higher the pick, like, that always will help.
It helps, but they don't need to tank because I think it'd be more exciting for them if they didn't have Dak Prescott on this giant contract. Because I worry that if you're a Cowboy fan, I think the most hopeless thing about it is like, wow, Dak is getting physically less capable of playing quarterback year after year after year. So you're worried about that.
Well, can I also remind you that he had season-ending hamstring surgery 2 days ago?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's not getting any better.
But your salary, you're never getting anyone else because you just signed him.
Well, that's the whole thing. And, can we just pause on that for a second? And this idea that somehow Dion and Shador would both be going to the Cowboys to somehow jumpstart the franchise. How does anyone think that makes sense with all the new money that they've committed to Dak Prescott?
Well, I think a lot of people think that it'd be Dion and Travis.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes a little bit more sense. But do you think that Dion wants to coach Travis more? Or does he want to coach Shador more?
I don't think he's going to have that choice. If he does, there's no way the Cowboys are getting Shador Sanders.
Right, exactly.
So
it wouldn't make any sense. That's why I wasn't sure what people thought that Shador could be the next quarterback of the Cowboys. That's not going to happen.
But how cool would Travis Hunter wearing that star on his helmet be? I obviously grew up hating the Cowboys, but Travis Hunter being the new Dion in Dallas, that'd be good for the NFL.
No, it'd be fantastic.
If our friend Larry Goodell could somehow
Rodgers' alter ego,
Travis Hunter would fix a lot of things in Dallas. You know what they need really is excitement. They need something thrilling. Like, you don't want to bring back a 30-something Ezekiel Elliott. Like, they need. There's this theory out there that they actually were tanking this season quietly. That a lot of people are saying, this is brilliant by Jerry. He didn't spend any money this offseason because he's gearing up for 2025.
But then why pay Dak?
Well, they had to pay Dak at one point because if you're gearing up for 2025, you need a veteran quarterback there to run the team. So that didn't mean drafting. Now, this is a theory of Dallas Cowboys fans who are trying to make sense of why Jerry didn't go all in.
It sounds like a cope.
Yeah, exactly.
You're coping.
It's a rationalization for sure.
Because you'd be tanking, but you paid Lamb and you paid Dak.
Right, but you're not really tanking, but you're saving your money for next year.
But why?
I don't know. I
don't get it. This year with the NFC, this actually was the year to be going for it because the 49ers, one of your biggest rivals, appears weakened. It's really just you and the Lions and the Eagles. Like, who are these great teams in the end? And maybe the Packers, and hopefully the Packers, because that would be fun. But
why do you think it'd be any different next year? By the way, you just named 4 pretty good teams. That being said, the other interesting thing is, so Duron Bland, they were asking Mike McCarthy, like, is he playing again? Like, that's the other thing. Like, what happened to their injured players? Now they're going to shut him down for the season. Like, they might. I like that speech by Mike McCarthy. I actually thought that was kind of nice. Like, hey, you have an opportunity to do something nobody expects here. That's trying to make the best out of a bad situation. I wouldn't worry about this thing. Your fear that he's going to be really good and keep his job, I think you're okay. I really do, Maggie. I don't think that's going to happen.
Listen,
all in.
Don't need any rah-rah stuff now. We are long past that if you're the Cowboys. Now it's just got to be, let's crater to the bottom here and figure out what you're going to do next season.
I think that's happening. Cooper Rush, yeah. Did you watch Cooper Rush last week? Did you see any hope for a massive turnaround? They're 3-6. I don't see this working. So that's good, right? Like, you're going to have major change. You're going to bring in Bill Belichick. You're going to bring in Mike Vrabel. That's good.
I would think so, but again, if you somehow kickstart some run here, say they beat the Texans,
that could happen.
7.5-point underdog. But.
Well, the Texans are a little beat up, obviously. Even so, they're not going to get the playoffs. And if McCarthy doesn't make it the playoffs, Jerry has to move on.
Of course. EJ, you look like you want to weigh in here.
I'm just not convinced he will.
Yeah, I know.
That's the problem. That long pause, I'm just like, we'll see. I'm also worried that, like, if
Jerry would move on.
Yeah, I'm also worried that if they do move on from McCarthy, you mentioned Mike Vrabel. Does he want this job? Is this an attractive job to people? Like, I think that's a question, maybe that's an uncomfortable question for Cowboys fans, but I think it's a real one. We all these conversations about the distractions, the tours, dealing with Jerry Jones. Belichick may be desperate. I don't know if Ben Johnson or Mike Vrabel will be desperate for the Cowboys.
Well, and the other part, don't forget, I don't think the Cowboys are paying at the top of the market either.
That's true.
You're not going to get that John Gruden 10 years, $100 million or whatever he got. 855-212-4227. Okay, lots more to do, including, got to do it, guys, Chiefs-Bills, game of the weekend.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
I know this may be a little surprising for some. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. I am not making this Chiefs-Bills game the end-all, be-all game for the season for Buffalo like I think a lot of people are.
No one is. Get out. Why would anybody make that? Explain to me. You think people are making this the end-all, be-all game?
Yeah, I do. I mean, listen, it's not the playoffs, so it will never obviously mean as much. But I do think there are a lot of people who believe that if the Bills can't win this game in the regular season, or at least show they can put some resistance up against the Chiefs, it really means that the tables have turned to where it's just utter Chiefs domination. And I got to be honest, I already think it's utter Chiefs domination because you're able to beat the team in the postseason in such memorable ways and such, heartbreaking ways on the Buffalo side. I don't know if a regular season win makes up for that. And I don't think it does. And there's another part of this too, where I think it's just, I'm not saying it's not important because if the Bills get blown out, that's going to be 2 bad losses to the 2 of the best teams in the NFL. They got blown out by the Baltimore Ravens, and if they get blown out by the Chiefs, you're going to start looking at the Bills' schedule and saying, who did they actually beat? And maybe this team isn't, the gangbusters, new and improved, different Josh Allen, MVP, whatever, that we thought. So you can't get blown out, but as far as like pulling this greater meaning, I can't do it just off of this regular season game. Does this sound like a cop-out for me as a Bills fan?
I think that all those narratives are wrong. But honestly, I think a lot of people are worried about the Chiefs too. Like, who is this Chiefs team? I've heard a lot of that. I heard an analyst say, I don't think they're a top 5 team in the league.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, the Denver team that just beat them soundly. I know they lost the game, but they beat them to the ground in that game is not good. I just worry, I'm not sure how great either of these teams are. I'll be totally honest with you. And I agree, it doesn't, of course, the regular season result does not guarantee anything in the playoffs. I agree with you on that, but I think there's a lot of skepticism about the Chiefs too. So even if the Bills win this game, I'm not sure what it means. You don't notice that the Chiefs are struggling?
No, I get it, but to say that the Chiefs aren't a top 5 team is just not true. You can say the offense doesn't look the same, but the defense is only allowing 18 points per game on average. They're allowing only 80 rushing yards per game. That's one of the best in the NFL. Everyone's got this wrong about the Chiefs.
Ooh.
Don't mistake the fact that they just happen to be more of a second half team with the fact that they're a bad team.
Well, I mean, they went to overtime with the ghosts of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers had basically G League receivers, and they took them to overtime. Then they kind of lost this game to Denver. I know they technically won. Who are the Chiefs? And the other question too is, who are the Bills? I think this is much more of a define. I think I disagree with who are the Bills? We have no idea how good this team is because of that receiving core. We just really don't know how they match up against elite teams because we've never seen a full season of Josh Allen without real weapons. So I think that both teams are way more up in the air. I don't see this as, at least this is my view, the 1 and 2 team in the AFC battling out. I think that's almost Baltimore and Pittsburgh is more of that.
No,
I feel to me, Baltimore is so far and away the most talented team in the AFC right now. I just don't know who either of these 2 teams are. If they beat the Chiefs right now, everyone's going to be like,
Yeah, I don't think the Bills get the kind of bump that people think they will if they beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Now, listen, you would have ended the streak. So, you end the winning streak. If the Chiefs are really trying to put a lot of stock into going to the undefeated season, then, okay, I guess you take a little solace out of that. But just like the Bills getting blown out against the Ravens, I don't think would be top of mind for a lot of people if the Bills met the Ravens in the playoffs. I think everyone would believe it would be a whole new ball game. You had to throw out what happened earlier in the season and just treat this game on its own. And I think that's almost the amount of respect I think the Bills, the Ravens, and the Chiefs deserve at this time, which is the regular season really is, I don't want to say the formality, because I love going with the ups and downs of game by game, and it's fun. But don't they earn a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that you're not going to take anything massive from a regular season matchup? It's really all about what happens in January.
Right, but doesn't every casual and non-casual football fan just assume the Chiefs are going to beat the Bills in the second round of the playoffs like they do every year?
Well, how about
what are we even talking about here?
How about in this game, too? Let's just take it to this game. Patrick Mahomes as an underdog, 11-3, straight up. I mean, this dude doesn't lose as an underdog, so I don't know why people would think it'd be any different now. I get it.
Yeah.
You don't think that they have maybe this awesome team. Well, I mean, you want to nitpick everybody. The Ravens don't have a great defense right now. We still consider them one of the great teams.
So bizarre because the Ravens always have a good. And honestly, it's so funny you said, I do think that Ravens win over the Bills meant something in the sense that, like, I'd be shocked if the Bills could knock off the Ravens in the playoffs. I feel like, how are they possibly going to stop Lamar and Derrick Henry in the playoffs? I don't view your Bills like, I like the Bills. They're a good team. I'm not scared of them as a Super Bowl contender. Let me ask you this question. Regardless of what happens this week, if you're a Chiefs fan or you're a Ravens fan or maybe even a Steelers fan, are you terrified of this Bills team?
I think the Bills would beat the Steelers.
Yeah.
I think the Bills would beat the Steelers.
What if you're a Ravens or Chiefs? Like, even if this game, like, what are we talking? I totally agree with everything you're saying about, like, the full meaning of this game, but really, where are we with the Bills? Or, like, and you follow them as close as anyone.
Yeah.
Are they? Is this possibly the breakthrough year? Like, because I don't see it. But in the sense, like, does this team seem better than the team that lost in the 13-second game or the team that lost last year?
I'll give you two things.
Yeah.
Last year, I think people didn't understand that the Bills had backed themselves so much into a corner because of some stupid losses from earlier in the season that they were zero margin for error for the last 5 games of the year. And while people said, oh, that's great, it's this grid and you're winning these games, I think it totally wore them out. And if they hadn't lost to Kansas City, they may have lost to Baltimore in the next round. This team is looser. Without a doubt. It does not feel like the weight of the world is on their shoulders for everyone except for the head coach. I still do not trust Sean McDermott in a big game. And until he proves me otherwise, I can't trust him in a big game. Do I think he could beat the Steelers? I do think the Bills could beat the Steelers. When it comes to the Ravens and when it comes to Kansas City, I feel less confident.
Feels to me like they're...
And by the way, Cincinnati, who came into Buffalo and crushed them in the playoffs.
Feels like we're back to the Josh Allen Superman thing too. Like, if push comes to shove in the playoffs, you're going to need Josh Allen's legs. And we keep seeing again and again in playoffs, running quarterbacks hit a wall. Like, if you say Pittsburgh, like, Pittsburgh could control Josh Allen in the playoffs. I just think that I haven't seen, like, the sort of full-on attack from this Buffalo team. Like, I'm a little worried that they just don't have enough weapons to do it all this year.
I'm not actually worried about that. It's not the weapons. It's the continuing to incorporate the run game and not abandon it. And by the way, we may see a little bit of that in this game because as good as Kansas City has been against the run, they have actually been middle of the pack against the pass. They're 14th right now, their defense is in passing yards allowed. They only have 5 interceptions in the entire season. The Chiefs secondary, they are not this big takeaway team. And so Allen they're going to test Allen. I hope they don't go so one-sided and they have to be able to continue to find a way to keep the run game going.
Right, but I think that question, are the Bills in any way a scary passing team? Like, I don't think they're a top 10 passing team, or even close. Like, their offense is pretty anemic this year, right? They do try and control the ball, but if they needed to be explosive, could they?
It's not the same explosive plays with Diggs that you used to have with Stephon Diggs, but that's a conscious choice by this team to get Diggs out of town in favor of an offense that spreads the ball out a little bit more. No Keon Coleman in this game. Looks like Amari Cooper is going to play, so we'll see about that. The possession slot receiver, Khalil Shakir, is extremely important, and no Dalton Kincaid in this game. Not that a tight end's ever going to be an explosive, but Kelsey, I guess.
You say a conscious choice. It makes it sound like you have no other choice. Like, what's their other option?
Well, I think they believe that, Cooper could help with some explosive, that Keon Coleman's going to be one of those 50-50 guys. They don't have the speed that they did with Diggs. And they decided not to be a team like that because I think they're realizing cold weather team, you're just, the juice is not worth the squeeze for how much you were paying Diggs.
So you're finally going to that sort of defense cold weather model. Yeah. Yeah, when I was in high school, I made a conscious choice to focus on my studies instead of hanging out with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have.
She didn't exist.
Yeah. Because you don't have a choice here. Like, you just really, you did not invest a lot in wide receiver. And I don't know what it is. The last couple of years, maybe I'm wrong. I am so dubious about Amari Cooper. Like, I just cannot trust that guy. I saw him drop everything in Cleveland. I saw him finally caught a touchdown in Buffalo. That was shaky as all get out.
Yep.
Caught it, dropped it, caught it again.
Then he got hurt.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, then again, he could be great. Keon Coleman, the 50-50 guy, like 50-50 on any given play, what that guy's going to do. He looks great.
He's a rookie, so.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying, in Khalil Shakir, I'm a little worried about the Bills' weapons. But to your credit, you always said like they should run the ball more. They're very effective running this year. James Cook's numbers are great. His analytics are great. I just worry that at the end of the day, they're going to need a little more from this offense. And is it going to be there? Tonight, they might not. The Chiefs are really playing conservative football.
I think the reason why we tend to skew more talking about the Bills when we come to this matchup is not just because, my, support of the team and growing up in upstate New York and all that.
Obsession?
Some may call it that, Manny. It's because this feels like it's not going to stick to the Chiefs at all.
Yeah,
I think I'm one of the last people who thinks they can go to the undefeated season. So I'm on a total island on that. And they've got such a lead in the AFC West, it doesn't matter, Yeah. Listen, even if we were talking about the number one seed and home field advantage throughout the playoffs, what did the Chiefs just do last year? Went on the road to Buffalo and won. Went into Baltimore and won. It just doesn't matter.
That's so funny. They don't care about the regular season at all. They're just using it as a warm-up. I don't even know what plays they're going to run in the playoffs because right now they're not really doing much of anything. That's a great question. So they're plus 400 to win the Super Bowl right now. They lose to the Bills. Does that change at all?
No.
I agree. I don't think the odds change at all. The Bills, meanwhile, are fifth, which for the Bills is like the lowest they've ever been because they're usually 2.
In some ways, I talked about how the team feels like they're playing just a little bit looser. I know Allen threw 2 picks last week, but trust me when I say it doesn't feel like they are playing with the weight of the world on their shoulders. Maybe it's the season you never see coming with Buffalo.
Yeah,
maybe
that's
the way it's going to have to be. I actually was telling you guys last night, I know this is a big cop-out as a sports fan, but I think it has to be one of those seasons like the Yankees just had, where you get the NFL's version of like the Guardians and the Royals on the way to the Super Bowl. I know the Yankees didn't win, so it's a bad analogy. But maybe you don't have to go through the Chiefs and the Ravens.
But I'm not sure that's going to work out that way.
It's going to be impossible.
This
is where I'm at, guys. I'm like, finally.
I mean, honestly,
that was Tyler Bass hitting a field goal, by the way. That wasn't even anything big.
The Ravens are creeping up, and I've been saying this all along. Like they should be the favorite. They're moving up fast.
Who trusts the Ravens, though?
I just think that they're on a revenge tour, and I know they've been losing some games.
Their defense is not good.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to matter. They've had great defenses going into the playoffs and not done anything. Just feels like if Lamar is healthy and Henry is healthy, and now that they have these receiving weapons. They are now kind of building up a playoff team, which they have not done in the past. And again, like Lamar is Jokic. You win 2 MVPs and you can't get over the hump. Eventually you get over the hump. It's just guys get older. They get more mature. They get more ready for the big moment. I feel like he's going to that point. Maybe Josh Allen is too. But like these quarterbacks are turning 27, 28, 29. He's going to break through.
I think that one other thing that's really changed about the Ravens, we mentioned that the defense has just not been kind of that standard that you associate with the Ravens of Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and guys like that. But I think their red zone offense, like when the Ravens get into the red zone, they are scoring. Yeah. That was not always the way it was. And Derrick Henry has really helped that out.
Yeah,
he has 14 touchdowns.
The defense has stars too. They have if Kyle Hamilton, I guess, is not a long-term injury. He's amazing, and we finally saw Madubuike start to play like himself. Their defensive end, and Marlon Humphrey. Like it's not like their defense should be terrible. I don't know why it's been so bad against the pass. I think that can be fixed. Now, I guess they don't like this new defensive coordinator, Zach Orr, but that's my pick. If I could get a mulligan, I would go with the Ravens, and I'm not even going to. You do issue a good warning. Do not change your pick based on Bills, Kansas City. I would listen to Maggie Gray on that one.
That's just my take on the thing. EJ, do you think I'm being delusional here saying that this game doesn't matter?
Absolutely delusional, Maggie. This game 100% matters. And look, I think the world is not fair. So, yes, if the Bills win, does that mean they're going to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs? We have no idea.
No, instead they're going to lose in a way that, becomes like a nickname.
Yes.
It's not just losing in obscurity. It's got to have a nickname attached to it, like a shorthand.
Exactly.
If the Bills win, everyone says, well, there's no way they're beating the Chiefs twice, so you might as well tank right now.
And that's reality. But unfortunately, if they lose, it's panic city. Because this is kind of a new team, right? This is not, you mentioned Diggs was a big part of their identity, and now this is a different
defense,
landscape, different defenses. Yep. This picture of the Chiefs versus Bills is different than it was in the past. So if you guys go out there and you guys get smoked by 14 points, it becomes, oh no, even though we made all these changes, they're still way better than us. And I think they take that psychological advantage into the playoffs. It's one of those things where you just can't lose. I hate to say that, but if you lose, the problem. If you win, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
DJ, you're crazy.
Who are the Chiefs beating by 14 points, though?
Yeah, dude, there's not a single team in the NFL, including the Panthers, who they play next week, that they're going to beat by 14 points.
The Chiefs are a weird team where they get up for these kind of games.
No, they don't. They win these games by 3.
Oh, well, I'm talking about this season. I'm saying
first of all, and
their
also,
history.
I'll take what Maggie's saying. If the Bills win this game, that's a drastic mistake because we've seen this. It's hard to beat a team twice. It's really hard. NFL history proves that. Like, they don't win this game and be overconfident.
Listen,
you think you can go in that locker room and say, "Don't worry, guys, we lost by 10, but we'll get them in the playoffs"? You think that's gonna? I think that's a way worse, harder message to sell.
They're not going to lose by 10. They're going to lose by some fluke play. That's how Buffalo.
And that's going to be terrible.
That's how Buffalo does.
I'll tell you what. You know what's going to happen if they do lose by 14? We're talking about the Bills and Chiefs now. So they'd be going into their bye on the other side of the bye, San Francisco at Detroit. Okay, so you got this. This is the beginning of the real juggernaut part of the season for the Bills. If you get blown out by the Chiefs in a year where the Chiefs offense is not blowing anybody out, then you are really talking about Sean McDermott being out. Because at that point, what are you doing?
No, sorry, Mac.
He's done a good job with the defense.
Not happening. Sean McDermott is going to outlive you.
I'm just thinking, we've seen the Bills earlier this season. We've seen the story of the Bills. They beat up on some terrible teams to start the season. And their first little stretch of tough games, what happened? They got smoked by the Ravens, and then they lost to the Texans, and Josh Allen was like 9 for 100. Like,
definitely got concussed in that game, too.
No one talks about it. Potentially. Like, we've seen the Bills season where they go up against these bad teams, and it's all right, here we go. The big boys come to play, and what happens? I'm a little concerned for the Bills that we're going to see that again, especially because Mahomes is looking at that line being like, are you serious? I'm an underdog against these clowns that I've beaten like 100 times in a row? Okay, watch this.
I hate when they make Mahomes an underdog. Darn you, Vegas. Like, why?
I think if the Chiefs were the favorites, I'd feel better about the Bills. I think the Chiefs are they're like the Bulls of the 90s. They're like Jordan. They take stuff personally.
I know. Well, because you need to find the motivation when you've done this much winning, right?
Exactly.
I'm a little more worried about the Chiefs than you guys. Like, I'd be shocked
if you don't take the Chiefs and the points, you're crazy.
Yeah, they'll win the game, but I mean, if you think they're going to be explosive, win by 10, like, how? I mean, how many little shuttle passes of Travis Kelce for 4 yards can one team run? Like, there's
Bills
nothing.
Can't stop it.
There's nothing going on there on their offense.
You know what's going to happen? Yeah. I'm not betting this game because I've got the personal aspect of it that I don't want to bet on it. But whoever doesn't do the Xavier Worthy anytime touchdown, you're out of your gourd.
You jabroni! Have you watched him try to throw to Xavier Worthy? It's not good.
Well, get him matched up with a couple of the Bills.
Maybe the Chiefs. I don't know. Chiefs are definitely holding all their plays for the playoffs. They are not running. They're running a vanilla offense. They're not trying anything. Once in a while, they do a little trick play, but I'm telling you, the Chiefs are playing possum. Did you watch that Broncos game? It was handoff, shuttle pass, handoff, screen pass. There was nothing happening.
Andy Reid can't help himself with this. I think he's going to throw them a little bit of a bone here and do the Xavier Worthy touchdown. They know.
I'll bet you I'd be shocked if the Chiefs get to 24 points. I will be very surprised tonight. I'm not tonight, Sunday afternoon.
I was going to say, I need a little more time. No, I mean, listen, it could be a low-scoring game. I'm not saying that. I don't know if it's going to be a 2-touchdown game.
And Maggie, you know that community. If you guys lose 10 points, 1 point, you know what the conversation is going to be.
Can't beat them.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they've beaten them in the regular season how many times?
3.
And what has that resulted in?
Nothing.
So what difference does it make if they beat them?
Again, this is the lose-lose situation here for Buffalo.
Exactly. Yeah, you win, then you're doomed. If you lose, you're doomed.
Listen, it has nothing. This is why they just have to beat them in the playoffs, and everyone knows that. It's so simple to say, but it reminds me a lot of Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. And Peyton Manning finally had to beat Tom Brady in the playoffs. It didn't matter anymore in the regular season, and that's what's going to have to happen with Josh.
Great analogy.
Thank you. 855-212-4227. Okay, you guys want to weigh in on the Chiefs and the Bills? Is this a no-win situation for Buffalo? Could be. Mike Tyson speaking into a microphone to a kid reporter. What could go wrong? You're going to hear it next. M&P.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Tonight, the fight no one really asked for, but is happening anyway. Mike Tyson and Jake Paul from Jerry World in Dallas. So, of course, the weigh-ins were happening and the press conferences were happening. Yesterday was the weigh-in. You may have seen it. Mike Tyson slapped Jake Paul in the face. Predictable. Scuffle, all that stuff to try to ramp up viewership for the fight. You know how they do. But I don't know who in their right mind thought it was a good idea to have Mike Tyson do a one-on-one interview with a kid reporter. You know how they do this sometimes? The kid reporter at the Super Bowl, they're so cute. They ask these questions, and then the players, Perloff, give like these really fun answers. And
yeah,
you
love
just like
a kid
get
reporter.
a heartwarming moment. Right?
Always works. It's 100 for 100 kid reporters.
Not anymore. Here is Mike Tyson being asked by, I believe she's 13, a 13-year-old little girl about his legacy. Mike, just take the layup. Instead, he goes full Tyson.
After such a successful career, what type of legacy would you like to leave behind when it's all said and done?
Well, I don't know. I don't believe in the word legacy. I just think that's another word for ego. Legacy doesn't mean nothing. That's just some word everybody grabbed onto. Someone said that word and everyone grabbed on the word, so now it's used every 5 seconds. It means absolutely nothing to me. I'm just passing through. I'm going to die, and it's going to be over. Who cares about a legacy after that?
There's more.
I'm kind of down with that philosophy.
Let's hear more on Mike Tyson expanding on why his legacy doesn't matter once you're dead.
With a big ego, so I'm going to die. I want people to think that I'm this, I'm great. No, we're nothing. We're just dead. We're dust. We're absolutely nothing. Our legacy is nothing.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That is something that I have not heard before, someone say that as an answer.
Good job.
Thanks for ruining my future.
Who's the adult here? Is it the fully grown 50-something man, or is it the 13-year-old girl who just kick-saved in a beauty, that thing? Hire her. Here's Mike Tyson. Again, the kid reporter. He's doing this interview with her more about this legacy stuff.
Can you really imagine somebody say, I want my legacy to be this way when you're dead? Why do you want somebody? You think somebody really wants to think about you? What's the audacity? I think I want people to think about me when I'm gone. Who the cares about me?
No, that wasn't with the kid reporter. Was it?
Yep.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
She's a child. Just say, I want to leave something my kids can be proud of and move on.
Legacy doesn't mean nothing.
No.
Tell me how much you love Skittles. She's 13.
What are you doing, Mike? And who are the people around this that allowed this to happen?
See, I like this trend. I think they should have the Nickelodeon Kids game, and they should have Chris Nowinski come on and explain the long-term effects of concussions. Like they should. Every kid's thing should be real. It's about time that she learns some straight Buddhist philosophy on the meaningless of life. You want to just go through wander her teenage years and thinking that we mean anything? No, Tyson's right. Life is but a brief candle.
Say that.
No.
Say it's a brief candle. Don't drop an F-bomb with the kid reporter.
No, my favorite thing about this is Young Jazzy's second interview with Mike Tyson.
Oh my goodness.
She's already did another one.
Oh, is that Young Jazzy?
Oh,
Yeah, Young
she's
Jazzy.
so good.
Wait, what was her? How did she come about? I remember I've heard of her before.
She does all these interviews with celebrities, and honestly, I'm not surprised they gave her Tyson one because she already interviewed him, but also like she's done like Nicki Minaj, like she's done some kind of like weird characters, off characters you think maybe would give her something, but usually even those folks give her something of encouragement.
Yes, Nicki Minaj.
Not Mike Tyson though.
Would look like Princess Diana compared to Mike Tyson in terms of decorum.
But really, the cursing, I know the cursing was the headline, but the cursing is not the worst part of this. It's a singular word that I'm sure she's heard already. It's the complete destruction of all hope and prayer. And like, who cares? We're going to die soon.
No. I know that language. I have a friend who's a Buddhist. That was straight out. Like Tyson has fully done a life change. Like I know some middle-aged guys like me and Mike Tyson. Like that they like this is life is just a construct of the ego and we don't really exist. He's basically figuring out how he's going to face imminent death.
Yeah, when you're 13, that's not really what you're thinking about.
You're on a different timeline. But as you get older,
still have hope.
As you get older, you have to wrap your brain around the fact that you're going to die. And I think Tyson was working it out right there in real time. You're right. It is an odd choice to do it then.
For an epiphany there.
Yeah,
but I was like,
young
wow, this
Jazzy is middle-aged Jazzy, then maybe they can sit down and have a conversation about being dust in the wind.
Yeah,
but maybe
saying,
not today.
You're saying that's not the time to face the void when young Jazzy's on the interview? But I think that's a really interesting, I mean, we could talk about what Tyson said, but you're right, it is an odd choice. Maybe if he's sitting down with, I don't know, who's like a big interviewer, like 60
Jim
Minutes?
Gray or something, maybe?
60 Minutes, that would have been appropriate?
Anybody else but the kid reporter. And again, she looks like the adult because she gives him like a, wow, I had not thought about it that way or whatever. You know, she says this very, like nice, even response when he is just out of his mind. But again, it's Tyson. So it's almost like you can't blame Tyson. This is where I think Chris Rock used to have that funny stand-up about the Tigers in the that Vegas show. One of the Tigers,
Siegfried and Roy.
One of the Tigers attacked the guy, and they said, "Oh, how could the Tiger do that?" He goes, "The Tiger went Tiger." Mike Tyson is just being Mike Tyson. He can't be any other way. And so I don't know if I blame Tyson more, if I blame the people around Tyson for saying that he should do this interview with a 13-year-old girl.
That is something that I have not heard before, someone say that as an answer.
I like Bogush. I like your line. Just say I like Skittles.
Moving on. What's your favorite Taylor Swift song?
Exactly. Oh, my gosh.
What do you think about Sabrina Carpenter and whatever Barry's last name is?
You know the funny part? I bet I don't know if
the whole thing's hilarious. I think you're taking this way too seriously.
No, I am, but she is being the adult in the room. Get used to it, girl, because it's only going to happen more as you go through this industry. But here's the other part. I just wonder, did she also interview Jake Paul? Because I bet he gave her probably a very 13 appropriate answer. I would think.
I mean,
I don't know.
Jake Paul a lot of credit, to be honest.
Yeah, I was about to say,
did he finish a sentence?
Paul?
I mean, he was a Disney star, wasn't he? Was he a Disney guy?
No, Jake Paul was a Disney guy.
No, he was actually.
Was
yeah,
he
as a kid.
Yeah, he's an actor.
Oh, that's
He got excommunicated because he's Jake Paul.
Sure.
But yes,
What did he do on Disney?
I don't remember. He was on one of those little shows.
I want to see that
he had,
Nicki
like, a
Minaj
little weird
interview.
case.
I'm actually a huge Nicki Minaj fan. I would love to see. She's a big force at our house. We play all of them with beeps going on during her song and that.
Was it just a long censor for like 5 minutes?
No,
basically?
it's like a good beat, then beep 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 beep.
I'd love to watch McLovin sing some super bass by Nicki Minaj.
My kids, my daughter knows every lyric of every Nicki Minaj song, including the curse words.
Wow,
that's awesome.
Does she know what they mean?
She should interview Mike Tyson.
By the way, you say like 13-year-old, like trust me, 13-year-old kids in America now know what everything means.
I'm sure.
And they know more than we do.
But are we really bringing up like future mortality with them?
Probably, yeah. They're way smarter than we are. That generation is crazy smart.
Well, she definitely, young Jazzy definitely seemed very mature. She handled that chef's kiss.
That is something that I have not heard before, someone say that as an answer.
She cried herself to sleep last night. Why am I doing this? It was for legacy, and there's no legacy.
I do actually.
What's her legacy now?
Can we talk about one thing?
It should be good. She's hireable.
I think Mike Tyson had a kind of a good point that once you die, you don't experience any of what people think about you. Why do people care so much about like their legacy? It's a great point. I actually wondered about that. I've always been along the lines like once I'm gone, I don't care what you say about me.
You don't want to be like at your wake or your funeral.
I
like,
do.
Hear people talking about you.
So Dan Patrick always used to say he wanted to have his funeral before he died so he could hear that. But after you die, it does you no good.
But
Dan used to say that?
Yeah, like Huck Finn style.
But the problem is you're not getting the honesty, and if they know what they're there for, you need people to really, like, he's dead. We can say whatever we want.
No, but people, even after they die, people say nice things at a funeral.
Yeah, but not like when they're sitting in the row, like just talking to the person next to them, or like a conversation at work, like that guy was actually a schmuck.
Like, would you guys, is anybody here ever fantasize about having a living funeral? Because you want to hear people say nice things about you.
No, but I have thought about being like a ghost at my wake and my funeral to like wander around and see what people are saying. Or who shows up.
I feel like I'm young Jazzy. What have I done to deserve this conversation this morning?
I've
not thought about that. I do not want that.
You don't think about death?
No, I do, but I don't think about being present at my own funeral. No, I don't think about that.
Legacy doesn't mean nothing.
Nothing.
But here's the other thing. Maybe for Mike Tyson, the legacy, to be honest, not all roses and sunshine. So, I bet he probably is maybe worried about what people might say about him after he's gone, because it's not exactly been the primrose path for Tyson. And he'd be the first one to say that.
Yeah, it could be him coping with his life and being like, well, it's not really going to matter, so I shouldn't dwell on it. I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, he was actually spouting like really basic Buddhist principles right there.
I think he is a Buddhist, right?
Yeah. So it's just an odd time to do it. By the way, he could have said that. He didn't even smile. He looked very, very grim.
Again, to the 13-year-old kid reporter.
I think the problem
take
too
it
is
easy.
that the interview happened too close to the fight. If she would have got this interview maybe 3 weeks ago, I think he would have been a lot more chill, because he's been coming as his fights. We keep thinking it's a joke. I take everything Mike Tyson does seriously.
But wait, wasn't Mike
just for our
Tyson
own safety?
Am I missing something here? And we're going to interview someone later about it. Wasn't he like a jolly, feel-good fellow like 4 years ago? What happened to that guy?
I think he's back into the warrior mindset.
Yeah,
he has a fight happening.
He fought Roy Jones in 2020, and none of that. I don't remember any of it.
It's an exhibition, though. This is actually going on his record. I don't know.
Oh, my God. And this is not an exhibition? He's fighting Jake Paul.
No, but it is sanctioned.
Stop with the sanction. Who cares? It's an absolute joke.
You're like a promoter. You have money behind this event?
Okay, Mike Tyson might not care about his legacy, but I do.
He's 59 years old. Who cares? I don't care who sanctioned it. It's not. This is an exhibition. Whoa.
No, it is.
It's sanctioned by Depends?
You just shrugged. It's like, well, I guess you might say it's an exhibition. It's not even an exhibition. This doesn't even raise to the level of exhibition. It's a farce of a joke of a disaster. Can't wait to watch it.
I got a second Netflix subscription for this one alone.
It is
just in case like happened to the first one. Poll question: do you want to be at your own funeral?
The people who follow him keep saying that his mood has changed over the week, and people think it'll work. I don't. Everything that Mike Tyson does, I take at face value until I'm told otherwise.
Well, the other part too is this is very different in terms of how they need to sell the fight. I think because the money would be guaranteed. Well, the money's usually guaranteed, the purses, but it's not a pay-per-view.
Right.
It's Netflix. So it's a different kind of business model here with how much, like, he slapped Jake Paul in the face yesterday at the weigh-in. Generally, when people fight at the weigh-in, it's a last-ditch effort to try to drum up more business for the fight.
I do think everyone getting a lot of money out of this fight, so they do have to have a lot of downloads and stuff. They measure it. Yeah. I have a question. How did he lose all that weight? Did he go to Ozempic?
No, I told you he had a bleeding ulcer.
Was it just the sickness that caused the weight loss?
He lost 25 pounds.
Oh, okay. I wondered if there was some drug help with that. But I guess the sickness, the bleeding ulcer, yeah. I mean, he hasn't looked this good since 1993.
Yeah. I mean, but again, he's
58. I said 59. And it is sanctioned.
Legacy doesn't mean nothing.
I mean, do you have to curse in front of the 13-year-old?
Maggie, wait till your son's 13. The F word will be the least of your concerns.
You're probably right about that. Bogues, can you hang around for the next segment, or do you want to do this now? We've got 1 minute. Hang out with us for a second.
Fine.
I know you find Perloff,
We have a hockey call on the line, too, that you can probably answer because you're a hockey expert.
Thank you.
All right, so stick around for 2 reasons. Everyone, don't move. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. We got so sidetracked with an interview that Mike Tyson gave to a 13-year-old kid reporter where he dropped F-bombs and started talking about death and his own mortality and how we're all just dust in the wind. We got so caught up in that riveting conversation that we couldn't get to headlines with Andrew Bogish. Bogues, what's going on today?
These headlines are sponsored by Prize Picks. Football season's here, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Download Prize Picks, use code MANDP, and get a $50 credit instantly. When you play $5, must be present in certain states where it's lawful to wager. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
MANDP.
The win streak is now 6, but it did not look promising basically for 3 quarters last night in Philly. But then Saquon Barkley happened.
Hurts under center. He goes with a pitch to Barkley. Barkley across the 30, 25, 20, 15, 10. Goodbye!
Hello.
Another one.
Hello.
40 yards. 40 yards.
He's unbelievable.
That's Eagles radio, and that was Barkley's second TD run of the fourth quarter. The Eagle D mixing in a 4th down stop and a pick to fuel the 20-point quarter and the 26-18 win. Barkley finishing with 146 yards on the ground, another 52 receiving, and those 2 scores.
Are you going to mention
a lot of rushing yards and gaining a lot of respect?
Shut up, Saquon. I'm sorry, what?
Are you going to mention all the officiating crimes from last night and some of the missteps that Manny Rodriguez had on the Twitter last night about the Eagles getting screwed on a face mask call?
I wasn't, but you just did. So, Manny, your response?
Oh, boo-hoo. You guys won the football game. Cry me a river.
There was 2 terrible calls that kept this game close.
Yep.
And even when Terry McCauley, the officiating expert, comes on and says that the officials are wrong, they're really wrong. So I just want to factor that into the game. There was a face mask that they threw a flag for and picked up for no reason. He got his hand up in the hole between the helmet and his neck. It's a penalty. And there was a bad PI call.
What did Manny say about it?
The PI call I thought was fine.
Manny, what did Manny tweet about it?
Manny had anti-Eagles tweets going all night long.
Well, of course he does. He's a Giants fan.
He said, I do not believe this is a face mask, declaratively. I attacked him.
Well done, Fro.
And yeah, his attack went without it felt like a fly just kind of grazed upon me.
Wow.
Yeah. Manny, you are so funny. Like, you generally are. Your brain is a running commentary on Twitter. You're like, man, this guy stinks.
Twitter's
this guy
my personal
sucks.
diary. That's essentially
you're
what
so
it is.
negative though, and you're so nice in person, but you're so negative on social media.
Who's the real Manny? Is it the social media Manny or is it in-person Manny?
I am a different person when I watch sports.
Although you did tell me this morning that I was too happy. And you did also say, I hate the Eagles, I hate Saquon Barkley, I hate Philadelphia as well.
Well, that's
rapid fire.
Is there a question in there?
No, just you're off Twitter, you're also negative at times.
Yeah, Manny, did you hear?
Just towards Philadelphia, the armpit of the United States.
Man, did you hear when the Thank You Giants chant broke out at the Link last night?
I mean, how miserable can you people be? Living like why is the 2-7 whatever the Giants are? Why are we living in your heads? You guys just beat the Commanders,
right? Because Saquon Barkley used to be a Giant, and he had a really big game last night.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Philadelphia. You're paying $10 million for a running back.
That leads the league in rushing and is why they won their 6th consecutive game last night.
The goalposts always move, man. Oh, the Giants, they let go of Saquon Barkley. Those fools. But it's okay for the Eagles to pay an absurd amount of money. Like, it's essentially what the Giants were trying to avoid. I don't care if he... And plus, Tyrone Tracy, he's fine.
Okay,
he's fine.
Enough Giants talk.
He's no Saquon, but he's fine. For
Enough
whatever
Giants
he's
talk.
making, $9 million less than Saquon, he's fine.
He literally fumbled away their last game.
Good. I thought you wanted the draft
Under
pick.
what umbrella of fine does that fall?
Listen, those fantasy points that he's been getting me didn't work out last week against Gell, but those fantasy points that I've been getting out of Tyrone Tracy, fine.
We didn't get to that point, though.
This is your fault.
Yeah,
You're the one who opened the door.
But can I ask a real question? This is about the entire league. We did see this last night, and it's sort of creeping in. It's a huge football weekend. We're going to have Taylor Swift at a game, Bills, Chiefs. We're going to have Steelers, Ravens. We're going to have Chargers against the Bengals. Is officiating, like, are we in a real problem here? That came up a lot last night on my social media feed. Like, oh, crap. They are screwing up left and right. They're inserting flags. Replay assist is not helping.
Are we just noticing this now?
I don't know. I worry because this is a big NFL weekend coming up that we're going to come in Monday and we're going to be talking about officiating because that was a terrible call last
We've been
night.
talking about officiating for the past half decade, haven't we?
More, Manny. It's just history started before the year 2000.
No, I feel like
we just didn't even have replay back then. It was really frustrating.
a lot of experts think this year is like a real problem.
We have to. Well, Manny can read about it in a history book sometime. But what the world was like before replay.
Ask a grandpa what it was like.
I'm sorry. We'll get a podcast for you to listen. Nobody reads anymore.
Thank you.
What else, folks?
Reading.
So the final score was 26-18. The Eagles have won 6 in a row. The Commanders have dropped 2 straight. There's now a game and a half between them atop the NFC East. There was one NBA game last night. The Jazz won it 115-113 over the Mavericks. John Collins dunking in the deciding points with 6 seconds left. U.S. men's soccer, a 1-0 win in Jamaica in the first leg of their Nations League quarterfinal. They'll play Monday night in St. Louis to finish that one off. The Winnipeg Jets 7-game win streak ending in Tampa 4-1. The Islanders were 5-2 winners in Vancouver, and Connor McDavid scored for his 1,000th career point in the Oilers 3-2 OT win over Nashville. Guys, back to you.
Bogush, thank you so much. Sean is in Oregon, wants to get back to the bizarre interview, as if there's any other kind, that Mike Tyson gave to a 13-year-old kid reporter where he starts talking about legacy is meaningless. It's all about ego. We're all going to be dead someday, so it doesn't matter. Again, to a 13-year-old kid reporter. What's up, Sean?
Hey, when you're 13, little girl, usually they're going on 30. So, I mean, it wasn't like she was a little girl going to sit on Santa Claus's lap or anything like that. And she definitely wasn't interviewing Santa Claus. And this is just Mike Tyson.
So it's her fault.
Being Mike Tyson. You know, he's brutally honest. He's a down-to-earth guy. And I've always appreciated his interviews. I just looked yesterday on his compilation of interviews on YouTube, and it just puts a smile on somebody's face. And you kind of feel sorry for him sometimes because he goes a little off kilter. But I just appreciate it. And he's like no other athlete I've ever heard be interviewed. I think back to anybody I've ever heard be interviewed. And Mike Tyson, that's part of his legacy, is his interviews and his honesty.
He would say that legacy means nothing. He doesn't care about it. But yeah, Sean, listen, Tyson is a wild card, both in interviews, in his life, all of that. And I don't know who to blame more for this coming out this way. Maybe no blame needs to exist, but Tyson for not understanding as an adult that that's not an appropriate response to give to a 13-year-old. You might say 13 going on 30, but she's a kid.
Legacy doesn't mean nothing.
And I would say the other part about, Tyson has moments of honesty. He did the one-man show on Broadway, which people loved, and I get that. But he's also said some wildly inappropriate things in press conferences, more than just, selling a fight. It's been borderline disgusting. But again, I think there is always a little bit of a soft spot for Tyson with people because if you know anything about him, you probably know about his upbringing. You probably know what a horrible life he's had and, all the challenges he's been through. I don't know.
He's an advocate. I mean, somewhat of an advocate for like mental health, right? I mean, he's someone who has mental health challenges. That's
clearly.
And he's open about that. So I think when we see these interviews, most will have that understanding that some of that is influencing this stuff too.
I get it. And I know it's really close to the fight. I guess maybe I'm putting myself a little bit more in the 13-year-old girl's shoes here, and she handled that like a pro.
Well, she has practice. She's been interviewing. I mean, you go to her Instagram, it's like she's interviewing the biggest stars. She interviewed Kamala Harris. It's like Stephen Curry. Like, she's interviewing like big stars. So I feel like she was very prepared for this, as crazy as that sounds.
I get it. That is something that I have not heard before someone say that as an answer.
The thing is, though, is Kamala Harris and Steph Curry are going to understand like that the message is different to a 13-year-old than it is if you're sitting down doing, some kind of in-depth podcast about the meaning of life.
Maggie, I think you may be taking this a little too seriously, baby. Like, duh. Mike Tyson just cursed out a 13-year-old interview. This is good.
By the
Nobody's saying they're saying this is an appropriate interview.
No, Sean is saying he's like, this is just Tyson.
Fun fact about Jazzy. Guess who her first interview was?
Mike Tyson.
Antonio Brown.
Get out of here.
According to Wikipedia.
She needs a better booking agent.
So that's what I'm saying. She had practice. She had Antonio Brown in 2019. That got her prepared for Mike Tyson in 2024.
Oh, my gosh. All right, we've got more, including the biggest thing we'll learn this weekend.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's a sports guy in town you'd never guess. Underneath that cool, collected press, he's a Broadway buff, a devotee with dreams as grand as a marquee. By day he talks players and stats galore, but at night he's ready to roar. He's got Broadway tunes running through his veins. In his heart, he's chasing the footlights rain. Andrew Perloff, the king of Broadway lights, trading touchdowns and games for starry nights. He's the phantom shadow, Valjean's might. In every scene he burns so bright. He'd sell out the stands, the fields, the seats, to dance down the aisle on 42nd Street. With every spotlight his heart takes flight, singing "Bring Him Home" with all his might. Giving costumes, give him flair, he'd play every lead in Times Square. From Wicked's Elphaba to Sweeney's Dark Song, he's memorized the roles, he sings them strong. Who needs a scoreboard when you've got a stage? Who needs a field when you've got a page? In scripts and scores he finds his dream, where the lights go down and the people scream. Oh, Andrew Perloff, Broadway star within, trading whistles and plays for violins. From Chicago's jazz to Ren's last call, in his heart he's conquered them all. So raise the curtain, let the overture soar. Here's to Andrew, longing for more. Broadway's biggest fan, the hidden knight. Under the marquees he finds his light. Oh, oh, oh yeah. Oh, oh, oh.
It's not easy to kill a tortoise. That's the other problem.
She'll figure it
Trust me,
out.
it's not easy to kill a tortoise. That's the other problem.
She'll figure
Trust
it
me,
out.
it's not easy to kill a tortoise. That's the other problem.
She'll figure
Trust
it
me,
out.
I fantasize a lot about this. How are you going to kill it? You have to drown it, right?
Oh, my gosh.
Drown a tortoise? Isn't it under?
It's
Doesn't it breathe in the water?
amphibious. Google, how do I kill a
So
tortoise?
I was thinking.
This is Maggie Gray with an Odyssey Sports Minute. This is Maggie Gray with a Sports Minute. With all the marquee NFL.
Andrew Perloff, the king of Broadway live. Oh, Peter Ballard is pissed as hell. Giselle's got sick or she didn't fucking tell. Had Brady's baby, Tom don't know. But where the hell's Peter? No show after no show.
Jay's day, he's calling the shots. Maggie and Perloff filling royal slots for squeezed OJ. No pulp in my glass.
5 seconds remaining. $30 remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Perloff skipping into work today after his Philadelphia Eagles in a tight game blow the doors open in the fourth quarter. Saquon Barkley, the difference, 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and everything's coming up Philadelphia this
Did you notice I wore this ugly green sweater? Now, what color are the Eagles jersey? What is this shade of green called?
Ugly green.
Midnight green?
I'll say forest green.
I don't think so.
Well,
that's not forest
regardless, it looks like winter's green this morning because now 6 in a row
Booger
for the
green.
Eagles. Now, in this stretch, they haven't played a lot of really impressive teams, but they did beat the Cincinnati Bengals on the road, and that was impressive. And now the Commanders in a game where, quite frankly, no team was really playing well through 3 quarters. You know, it was hard. It felt like a bit of a stalemate. No one was scoring. And then all of a sudden, fourth quarter, a couple key things happened. Number one, Dan Quinn, the head coach of the Commanders, they're trailing by 2 because the Eagles kicker missed 2 field goals and an extra point. So the score was 12-10. And instead of kicking a 41-yard field goal on a 4th and 2, they decide to go for it. They get stonewalled, and then on the next possession, Saquon Barkley scores. And then things started to loosen up a little bit more, and Saquon Barkley had 2 of the more easier touchdown runs that he will ever have in his entire career. He was the difference last
Yeah, I mean, all that is true, but would you buy this for me? Like, there was no doubt who the better team was. The Commanders could not block the Eagles' defensive line at all. If the Eagles had a kicker, they probably would have had a commanding lead at that point. I think the Eagles screwed up to make that even a game. They outplayed them. They were the better team on both lines. Definitely the defensive line, and I thought the O-line would start to push them around. So that was just sort of a bunch of fluke things happened, a couple really terrible calls that kept the Commanders in the game. They were pushed around last night. They are an inferior team roster-wise to the Eagles.
Yeah, and it's starting to look like if you want to believe more in the Eagles and the talent that they have on the defense and the offense, is it starting to look a little fraudulent for Washington. And listen, the thing about the Washington Commanders is Jaden Daniels, has had a fantastic first half of the season. How is this a little bit less than second half going to look? Is it going to look wildly different? And is there going to be this rookie wall, and does it start now? And then the other part is, are you really believing that Washington, who will make the playoffs most likely because they're 7-4 and they have a big lead, but is that just it? And that's fine, by the way. A rookie quarterback, you make the playoffs, but there were some high hopes and people got really excited about this Washington team, and last night was not good for them.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The expectation comes back to normal, but they built this funny team where everybody's on a 1-year deal and they have all these veteran defensive backs. So they have like a little bit of all-inness this year. Not like Bobby Wagner. I don't know if he's coming back. Frankie Louvu, all these guys that from other teams are there on their defense, and they played really well. The guy who's been a superstar for them, Dante Fowler, was just eaten up by the Eagles' offensive line last night. So they definitely have like so many guys on that defense that played a lot of NFL football, so they should be okay. I don't think the bottom falls out. They're an older team, on the defensive side. Dan Quinn's a good defensive coach. I think they're going to be fine. But you're right. They remind me so much of the Texans made the playoffs last year with C.J. Stroud, a rookie quarterback, and then won a game, but didn't really make any noise. And they got killed by the Ravens.
Yeah, and then the expectations went through the roof, and right now the Texans have been fine, but they haven't been amazing.
The Texans roster is different than the Commanders roster. The Commanders have a lot of work to really fill this thing out.
Yeah, I think really the big thing of what the Commanders will probably tell you is that they needed a lot of these veteran guys because they were trying to do this whole culture shift.
Definitely.
Right?
And I think it worked.
Yeah, I think definitely. It couldn't have gotten worse than the Dan Snyder era. Sheesh. I mean, this guy's on a yacht parked in international waters because I don't think he's got a persona non grata in the U.S. right now. I mean, that's tough, right? So you're going from one extreme to trying to create another. So I guess mission accomplished for them. But again, I do think the expectations got raised with Jaden Daniels, and I'm curious to see what the second half of the season is going to look like for Caleb Williams with a new offensive coordinator. Bo Nix, they could be a playoff team. He's got Sean Payton with him as a head coach, and Drake May is actually looking quite good in the last couple games. You know,
no, I
is
don't.
Daniel still going to be the cream of the crop of this rookie quarterback class when all is said and done?
I think I don't know how the voting for Rookie of the Year works, but it's going to be so unanimous because he's going to win a bunch of games.
Yeah.
I mean, and regardless, even last night, for most of the game, he avoided mistakes. He only has 3 interceptions on the year as a rookie. That's incredible. I was waiting desperately. Like, he's got to give the ball up. We need a turnover. And he just does not put the ball in harm's way. Then at the end, I don't know what happened. He threw one really bad interception. But generally, they're quite conservative on offense. They hand the ball off a lot. They're going to play really smart and win with defense. Remember, they have Marshawn Lattimore coming next week or their next game. They have a lot of guys. They're probably going to end up with 10 wins. And regardless of the individual performances of all those rookie quarterbacks you mentioned, there's no way you're going to keep a 10-win Jaden Daniels out of Rookie of the Year. Like, I don't think do you think anyone's going to make any room up here? I think he's going to be far and away the top quarterback coming out of this.
No, I think Rookie of the Year is a given. It's like minus 5,000 or something on DraftKings. It's not that. There was a conversation about if you redrafted.
100% he would go number 1. There's not even a question.
But we haven't even gone through the full season. Again, he might have just been the guy who got out to the hottest start, the fastest start, and also because of how many games he played in college, although Bo Nix played a lot of games too. But was this just, I don't want to say peaking too early, but don't you have to see how the rest of the season plays out after last night? 18 rushing yards for a guy who's a dual threat quarterback. And you're right, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. That's great. He's above average in that way, but they couldn't do jack. And they did have their running back Brian Robinson back last night. And still the Eagles were overwhelming him.
They were overwhelming, but his numbers 22 for 32, 191 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. It's not like that was in a game where they couldn't block anybody. I give him a little credit. He missed. There was one big play that he missed, and I don't know what happened, but that happens. Even the best quarterbacks miss a throw here and there. To say that the big concern about Jaden Daniels is could he take a hit in the NFL? And for the most part, he has, although there are a lot of stats. Since he got hurt, his numbers have gone way down. But he's still, even last night, he's efficient. He's obviously knows how to see the field. He can figure out what the defense is doing. I think it's all good. He's lost 2 games to the really good teams.
Okay, so I found an article from 2022. So this would have been when Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator for Washington, would have been let go. So if you go back to all the way back to his first season as head coach of Texas Tech in 2013, his record in the second half of games from game 8 of a season onward is 17-45. That's what I'm seeing in the article. That's crazy. So I just wonder, are we seeing that again? Are we seeing the things, these trends that we had seen for so long? Are we seeing that? He's never been above 500 in the second half of a season.
I hear you, but he's not the head coach, for one. And second of all, even so, I still think this schedule is going to lay out really nicely for them. Unless Daniels gets hurt. How you said it earlier. Read it again. Like, there's no way they're going to get 3 wins out of this. So just to put a finer point on the second half struggles for Kingsbury, and you're right, he's not the head coach, but when you have a defensive head coach, I think he does have a lot of autonomy over the offense, right? Right.
Okay, so Texas Tech, first season lost 5 of the last 6, second season 4 of the last 6, third season 4 of the last 6. Fifth, 6 of the last 8, 6 of the last 8, 5 of the last 5. Then with the Cardinals, he lost his first season 7 of their last 9, 5 of their last 7, and 5 of their last 6. And then he was fired. It's beyond a trend. I'm going to say that.
This is his career. This is what it's been. That's why I said last hour, I'm very concerned watching their offense look like that and wondering, is this going to be another Cliff Kingsbury situation where they start off great and then the bottom falls out?
I thought they looked pretty good against the Steelers. I know his numbers weren't great, but I didn't come away worried about Washington's offense. And after that Steelers game last night, they were over. Their line
Did they have a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter? But I guess that's a little more on the defense too. But still,
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, Jaden Daniels, it started off real slow against Pittsburgh, but then they really kind of figured some things out. And that's is that the best defense? That's one of the top 3 defenses in the league. So last night they couldn't block. You could see, like, to me, that was an O-line loss, not the quarterback. That being said, like, that defense, when you get Lattimore in there, like, they have really good players. I think they're going to, and I guess Cliff made the playoffs too in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to get 10, 11 wins and be just fine. And then it's good. I mean, are they a contender? No, but making the playoffs in the first year would be great.
So you wanted their schedule. Dallas is next. That's home. Home for Tennessee. Then they're bye. Out of the bye, they're at New Orleans before they get Philly again.
They're going to need that bye because they're a little banged up. I think Jaden Daniels, they should win all 3 of those games. Dallas, Tennessee, at New Orleans. And last night they had a chance to have a lead over the Eagles with 8 minutes left in the game. I don't think that game against Philly and Washington is a guarantee. They should be in totally fine playoff shape.
855-212-4227. Okay, so you can weigh in on the Jaden Daniels of it all. I'm curious what the conversation is at the end of the year, just with respect to the other rookie quarterbacks. Because, by the way, he might not be the only rookie quarterback who's going to make the playoffs. It looks like Bo Nix, the Denver Broncos could make it as well. And then also for the Philadelphia Eagles, I think there have been people like you, Perloff, and maybe others who are reluctant to say, oh, this Eagles team is actually a contender.
Yeah, but they haven't really beaten the best competition yet. So I think they're on a little bit of a run. But, I mean, who knows? Again, I was just saying the Commanders are a playoff team, but the Commanders, that does not wildly impress. Just because you can beat up the Commanders in Philly and still be in the game doesn't mean you're coming out of the NFC. So they're better than I thought. I'll be totally honest. I thought the defense was going to struggle like last year, and Vic Fangio has had a lot of success, found these guys out of nowhere who are all of a sudden playing out of their mind. But does that mean they're better than Detroit? Not in my mind.
I think Detroit is definitely the class of the NFC. I don't know who would say otherwise.
But the Eagles have jumped to number 2 in the odds out of the NFC, which they had not been most of the season. So this Barkley thing is quite promising. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know if he's getting too many touches, 26 touches, carries last night, even more touches. I might start kind of mixing in other guys just to save them because
that's how you break them.
Playoffs are pretty safe.
That's how you break them. Believe me.
What, too many carries?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know. That was the fear when they signed him. It's like, oh, are we going to get a full season of Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, it'll happen.
To be honest, though, and, Manny, you're obviously salty Giants fan, but even you would agree with me on this. He's never ran behind an offensive line that's even half as good as what the Eagles have.
What's the difference? Someone's going to hit him at the end of every play anyway.
I'm just saying he was getting – there used to be a world – and you don't see it nearly as much, where Saquon Barkley was getting demolished 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Those plays don't really happen as much anymore. And I think at least you can protect yourself, I think, a little bit more when you're the guy who's kind of falling forward maybe, as opposed to you're just getting pancaked. And that used to happen a lot with the Giants. Listen, I know it's degrees of like brutality here and viciousness in terms
I don't know.
of
I feel like when you get in the open field, you could take some hits too. But
an awkward hip drop tackle as well.
There was a hip drop last night that they didn't call.
They just don't call those anymore.
Yeah.
They said it would be impossible to call it in real time, right? Wasn't that part of why they...
Did they say that? Because I feel like people have been criticizing him for not calling. Because I think it was Devontae Smith got hip dropped and they didn't say anything.
Yeah,
and then they'll fine him later.
Joe Mixon lost like 3 games of the season because of a hip drop tackle.
Yeah, I do think that actually, like, let's be real here. Like, numbers prove if you give the running back the ball too many times, you risk injury. So, but here's what gives me hope. Christian McCaffrey had that crazy healthy year for Niners last year. He's never healthy. So we get 1 year of Saquon, so the Eagles better go for it.
This is it. 855-212-4227. Okay, you're welcome to weigh in on that. You're also, I'm curious, are you going to watch this Tyson-Jake Paul fight? We have the poll up in our chat. Maybe we can put that up on X as well. EJ, are you going to watch? Are you going to tune in? Because it's already in your Netflix. This is not a pay-per-view thing. You don't have to press go on $59.99 or $79.99. Gosh, paying for a fight.
That's assuming you have Netflix.
Assuming you have Netflix. Can't you just get someone's password? Am I not supposed to say that? Did they cut down on that?
There's some crackdown on that because we had to get a Netflix subscription recently. because of that.
Yeah, no,
You and Andrea did?
We had to get a second Netflix so my daughter could watch, and it's the most annoying thing ever. I saw the bill the other day, and I called my wife. Yeah, they're really coming down on that because we used to be quite liberal sharing it, to be honest.
Wait. Hold on one second. You had to get a second Netflix for your daughter in the same house?
Yeah, they're really strict right now. Like, you can't have it on 3 devices.
Oh, because I was going to say you can have different profiles, like shows you want to watch versus shows your wife wants to watch.
Yeah, no, but we have really one TV, and then everybody watches on devices.
Got it.
And I asked my wife, it doesn't make any sense to me, but for some reason I'm paying $24 a month for Netflix for now. I'm going to get behind that one.
Wow. That seems like a lot.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think you're paying?
15 something? No? I got to double check.
24 does sound high.
It's a second account. It's a second account. Trust me, they're finding people. I'm hearing a lot of people have to pay a second.
We were trying to watch Love Is Blind, and like all of a sudden it was like, nope, you got to pay. And I'm like, all right, I guess we got to open a new account.
Humanity.
Love Is Blind is serious.
You like what you like.
Exactly.
Everybody loves Love Is Blind. That's
like the
more
reality
mainstream
show
to
right
like
now.
than to not like.
Yeah.
By the way, and I believe in romance. I like the concept.
You like the concept of seeing someone behind the wall.
Yes. I want, when I was single, it was all about personality for me.
It's empathy. 855-212-4227. Coming up next, Nick Kostos will join us from You Better You Bet. Let's make some money, shall we? Speaking of which, Prize Picks. We love it. We're obsessed. The best place to get real money sports action when you watch football and the NBA, and football and the NBA combined is even better. Over 10 million members, billions of dollars in awarded winnings, of which Perloff and I have personally won on Prize Picks, and it is just so much fun. It's daily fantasy sports made accessible to all. What do? Download the app, so simple. Then you pick 2 or more players across any sport, and then just more or less on the projection. That's it. It's a thumbs up, it's a thumbs down, and you could win up to 100 times your money, Pearl.
Yeah, it's really exciting. We have some college football. If you can't watch the fight because you don't have a second Netflix account, you got Colorado State. I'm going Braden Fowler over pass yards tonight. Prize Picks even invented Flex Play, so you can cash out if one of your picks doesn't hit. It's awesome. I got a little bit burned by Lauri Markkanen last night. I don't take it personal. I'll get it tonight. I swear, I'm all over the NBA. All you have to do is download the Prize Picks app today and use the code MNP to get a $50 credit instantly when you play just $5. That's code MNP on Prize Picks to get $50 credit instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Must be present in certain states where it's lawful to wager. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Mand P.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff show. Wild show. We're getting ready for a big weekend. I can't bet on the Tyson-Jake Paul farce. I'm glad about that in New York State. Other states you can bet on it, but there is plenty of football to bet on this weekend, Maggie.
Yeah, and that's when we welcome in our pal, Nick Kostos from You Better You Bet. Nick, before we get into the football, are you betting on the Tyson-Jake Paul fight? Or, by the way, John Jones-Stipe Miocic is another huge fight, an actual, two really amazing fighters who are going at it for the UFC side.
I've actually 41 years of life on this planet, and great to be on with you guys. I've never been more insulted by a question. Duh, of course.
I'm sorry.
Obviously.
Okay, do you want to do the prop bet of what Tyson's going to bite on Jake Paul? Because there's some unsavory body parts that I could be mentioning right now.
Yeah, well, Jake Paul's wearing a diamond ear cover, which I thought was pretty funny. Yeah, So for tonight's fight, we'll start there, and then I do have a bet for the main event of UFC 309 tomorrow night at the Garden with John Jones. What a throwback main event. John Jones and Miocic hasn't fought in 3 years. Jones hasn't fought in 18 months. So really interesting main event for UFC tomorrow night. But for Tyson and Paul, I don't think, Maggie, that this is quite the betting opportunity that Mayweather-McGregor was. Which is arguably the greatest sports betting opportunity of all of our lifetimes, which is maybe the greatest boxer of all time versus guy who has never boxed before, and guy who has never boxed before was getting bet by everybody, which made absolutely no sense, and Mayweather obviously won the fight. I don't think this is that. Obviously, Jake Paul's not Mayweather, and obviously Mike Tyson has a ton more experience than Conor McGregor. Tyson's also 58 years old. Now, they have tried to level the playing field a little bit. These are 2-minute rounds tonight.
Yep.
So less time so Tyson can be fresher, and the gloves are less heavy, to account for the difference in almost 30-year age gap between the two. But even with that, I don't see Mike Tyson winning this fight. Now, maybe there's kind of a wink, nod, agreement to get this to a rematch at some point. I don't know if Jake Paul's going to knock Tyson out. I do think Jake Paul will win the fight, so I would bet Jake Paul to win. I also think you could do worse than betting the fight to go to decision. So then you could maybe get a rematch between the two, and they can print even more money. But I would not bet Mike Tyson. Tyson is going to be the betting favorite because he's Mike Tyson and he's the underdog. I think Jake Paul will win the fight. For tomorrow night, so John Jones is a huge favorite, like a way bigger favorite than Jake Paul is tonight against Tyson. Almost like minus 700, which means you'd have to lay $700 to win 100 if you bet on John Jones. We had yesterday on You Better You Bet Ariel Helwani on the show. It was like the premier combat sports journalist in the country, BetMGM ambassador. And Ariel said something I thought that was really interesting. People are sleeping on Stipe Miocic coming into this fight. He sees this as more of like a 50-50 proposition. And what I would say is, like, yeah, Stipe hasn't fought in a number of years since he got destroyed by Francis Ngannou and lost his heavyweight championship. We barely see John Jones fight. Now, if you're telling me that this is like even money, I'll take John Jones. But if I can get plus 500 on Stipe Miocic in a fight that some of the biggest experts feel is should not be as lopsided as it is what the odds say it is, yeah, I bet on Stipe Miocic to win the fight tomorrow night. So Jake Paul tonight, the fight to go to decision tonight. Give me Stipe Miocic to win the main event tomorrow of UFC 309.
That's really interesting. You're talking about with the Tyson Paul. The best way you get a rematch, though, I think, is if Tyson wins. If Paul wins, I think people don't want to see Tyson anymore potentially. But that would be my one. That would be my one thing. Then the second one, but you're right about Stipe. I think the other part of this too about John Jones, and I love him. He's from my hometown. Like it, his brother
seems like a great guy.
Well,
you love John Jones.
No.
Yeah, seems like an awesome guy.
He's not. But you know how
he's a terrible person, but he's from my hometown.
He's from Binghamton, so therefore he could do no wrong. Nick.
Listen, you want to get behind people and root for people who come from where you come from, and it's been impossible to do that with John. But I don't trust that he's been training in a way that is real, because he doesn't earn that benefit of the doubt. I don't know how seriously he's taking it. So I think that Stipe bet is the right one.
Can I see?
Well, maybe he's on steroids like he was against Cormier, in which case then it'll be a little tougher.
Well, we're not going to find out probably until after.
Nick, can I?
Fair enough.
Can I explain what's really going on here?
Yeah.
In the Maggie and Perloff show universe. So Maggie does not want to get to NFL football because last week she directly contradicted you with her pick of the week. And she was cursing herself. But she made a pick before you came on.
Yeah.
It was the Miami game.
I'm so
And
dumb.
everybody, Miami Rams, and I was with her. I did not understand.
You guys like the Rams, yeah.
I like the Rams. Maggie liked the Rams. Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp were playing. But you were so adamant about the Dolphins. How did you figure that out?
Well, I think it's, I think that it's less to do with the Rams and more to do with Miami. And I actually think like we have an interesting betting opportunity in the Dolphins game on Sunday against the Raiders, where so Tua comes back from injury and the Dolphins lose the first two games. They lose to Arizona and then they lose to Buffalo, right? They lose both games on last second field goals. You can make not that they should have won. They should have beaten Arizona. I think they played Buffalo like a standstill and then Bass makes the 61-yarder. Like you tip your cap, right? Arizona's 6-4. The Bills are 8-2. Like, to me, that says the Dolphins are a really good team. So going into Monday night's game, my thought, Perloff, was I want to start thinking about the Dolphins like we collectively thought about the Dolphins coming into the year. And I actually think and maybe they never get there. Like, maybe it doesn't happen. But I actually think there's another gear for the Dolphins to hit, because we have yet to see this offense with Tua as the quarterback really have one of those blow-up games that they had so many times last year. Like, Jalen Waddle doesn't have a game this year over 60 yards receiving. Tyreek Hill's dealing with a wrist injury, obviously, right? Devon Achane's been the entire offense. What happens when, like, everything clicks? It hasn't happened once this year when everything clicks, because the defense is a lot better than expected. So if all of that is true, and the point spread's going to be 7 on Sunday against the Raiders, and I love taking the points at home with Antonio Pierce. They made the offensive changes during the bye week. I feel like Miami almost has to be valuable in this game against Vegas on Sunday. So Monday night was less about the Rams for me and a lot more about the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, what's interesting there is Perloff never believed in the Dolphins. Even coming into the season,
Nope.
He thought they were all fool's gold, so he wouldn't have been able to spot that one. But yeah,
they are 3-6 to be fair to Perloff. So
I was a loser on that one, Nick. You were the big winner. Let's get to more NFL for this week, because obviously it starts with a game that was not as awesome last night, but Perloff's Eagles end up winning. Let's go to some of the big games. First, the Ravens and the Steelers. How much do you buy into a team having another team's number, and not the team, but the quarterback? Like the fact that Lamar Jackson 1-3 against the Steelers has had all these issues, thrown so many interceptions against them. Do you buy into that at all? And how are you betting this game this weekend?
That one-loss record is so funny, right? Given how long Lamar's been the Ravens quarterback, because he never plays in these games against the Steelers.
Yeah.
It's like, here's Tyler Huntley, like in all these games against Pittsburgh. I love the Ravens. I loved the Eagles last night. I love the Ravens in this game on Sunday. I really only wanted to bet Philadelphia -3. We talked about that on my show on Monday. It closed like 4.5. I thought that was a pretty valuable bet. It turned out to be, even though Jake Elliott tried his. I was, oh man, I was tilting my face off last night when Elliott was missing those kicks. When we get to Sunday, I think it's possible, and it won't happen in the same way, but I think it's possible we'll leave that game saying, wow, like in the same way we kind of left last night, and Jaden Daniels might not be 100% healthy, but yeah, the Eagles are probably better than the Commanders. Like, in Washington's good, but the Eagles are probably better.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll leave Sunday's game saying Baltimore's better than Pittsburgh. I don't think any defense, maybe Kansas City's, any defense is stopping this Ravens offense with the level Lamar Jackson's playing at. This is the best he's played in his whole career. I think the Ravens are going to be able to score for sure on the Steelers defense. And on the flip side, and the total got bet up in this game, this is the highest Ravens-Steelers total there had been in 20 years, almost 50. And think about the way that the games these two teams usually play, right? Whether the Roethlisberger-Flacco games. The thought is that the Steelers will be able to score also. Now, remember last Thursday night, Ravens-Bengals. Everyone's talking correctly about how the Ravens secondary and defense can't stop anyone. Now here's a rejuvenated Russell Wilson throwing the moon balls, not just to George Pickens, but to Big Mike Williams, right, who caught the game-winning touchdown last week for the Steelers against the Commanders. I don't think, my opinion is that Russell Wilson's playing above his skis right now. I don't think I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not trying to be a hater. I think they're going to the playoffs. I don't think they're as good as Baltimore. I think the difference between the teams is wider than this. If the point spread's going to be 3, I'll lay the Ravens. I feel like at worst, I push my bet.
Love it. All right, we're talking to Nick Kostos. I've been trying to get this topic front and center in today's show, and Maggie is not as interested as I am.
You guys feel like you've got some issues.
Yeah. Well, this one is because I'm like, let's lead with the kicking problems around the NFL. And Maggie's like,
here comes Harrison Butker, right?
Yeah. On IR, it's a big deal.
Dude, when you look at these bets, actually, the 3 big late games, Niners, Seahawks, almost definitely coming down to the kicking game. Bills, Chiefs.
No.
Dude, the Niners, there is not a single special teams play that is not a wild adventure for that team.
that is true. That is true.
And then the Bengals Charger, the Bengals are the only reason they're not a playoff team is because of Evan McPherson. The only reason they lost to the Ravens last week is Evan McPherson. Like, he's gone.
Perloff.
Dude, he is lost.
Perloff.
What is happening? Do you look at the kickers when you're making these bets?
I'm not saying Evan McPherson. I'm not saying Evan McPherson's good, but I mean, the Bengals defense also couldn't stop the 3 of us.
Yes, but the Bengals would not even try a field goal attempt because they know he's totally got the yips. So they kept on going for it.
That's not. They went for it because the Ravens, because they know they can't stop the Ravens.
They're terrified of that kicker, and because he's not good anymore. And listen, the Eagles, you saw it last night. It almost cost you money.
It did. I would have been.
So, but actually, the question was about the Chiefs and the Bills. To me, that's like actually a huge factor in this game.
Yeah, Maggie, I think you're right with what you said, that this is a big deal. I think it is a massive deal. People can say what I'm not interested in this stuff, but everyone's got strong opinions on Harrison Butker. God bless them. I mean that sincerely. What we can say about Harrison Butker definitively is that he is one of the best kickers in the history of the league, and is one of the most clutch kickers in the history, not hyperbole, one of the most clutch kickers in the history of the National Football League. So to go from Harrison Butker to a guy who has been on the Jets practice squad with their kicker woes and Spencer Schrader, this is an obvious disadvantage for the Chiefs here, and a game with a really small point spread. I like Kansas City in the game. Maggie, I'm sorry to say that. It's like, and look, the Bills have beaten the Chiefs in the regular season in the last 3 years. I'm not trying to present this as like the greatest bet of all time, but I mean, you're going to give me, it's just Patrick Mahomes as an underdog has been by leaps and bounds the best quarterback in the history of the league in these situations and winning games when he is an underdog. So I'll bet Mahomes to win the game. But yeah, like, does it worry me that Spencer Schrader's got to trot out there to make a big kick where you feel like really good if it's Butker taking that kick? I don't know how good I'm going to feel if it's Schrader. And I'll take this a step further. You know, normally, and Maggie, I'm curious your opinion as a Bills fan, right? Where normally in a big spot, it's really tough to trust Bass after he missed that kick in the divisional round, right, against the Chiefs. But then he strolls out there 2 weeks ago against Miami and buries one from 61 to win the game. So I actually think, and like, this is not like a jinx thing. I mean this. I actually think that I would give, and you would never say this if Butker were kicking, I think you have to feel more confident in the Bills kicking situation and what might be a really close game than the Chiefs kicking situation. Now, that won't stop me from betting the Chiefs, but it does make me more concerned. And I think it does put the Chiefs' chances for a perfect season at jeopardy, having this curtain-jerking jabroni Spencer Schrader kicking for them for the next 4 games.
You're absolutely right from this. I mean, all like storyline stuff aside, or how people are going to feel about either team coming out of this game, you'd be an idiot not to bet Mahomes as an underdog. What more do you need to see? Like the kicking situation, it's going to be a factor, but at this point, there's such a mountain of evidence that would tell you that that's a bad bet. So that's just, it's a no-brainer to me. We're talking about Nick Kostos, you bet or you bet. Okay, got a couple more for you, Nick. Really big NFL games this weekend, major playoff implications. 2 more for you, obviously. Seahawks, 49ers, Bengals, Chargers. The bigger point spread, Seahawks, 49ers. 49ers home looks like it's about 6.5, with the total sitting at 47.5. How do you like this game?
I'll give you a kind of a lame answer to this one. I kind of think like the point spread's exactly right. If it went up a little bit, like if it went to 7, I would take the points with Seattle. Like that would be the side that I would like to take. If you gave me $100 and made me bet the game, I would bet Seattle plus 6.5. I do think it matters a lot that they're going to get DK Metcalf back in this game. He had missed the 2 games prior to the bye. I don't know. I'll say this about Mad Eye Moody, professor of the dark arts and terrible field goal kicker. You know, he was brutal last year, and the Harry Potter fans out there, brutal in the postseason last year, and then like drilled a bunch of 50-yarders in the Super Bowl. So he has shown and I'm not saying that he's going to be awesome moving forward, but he has already shown the ability in his young career to kind of shake it off and kick well the next week. So we'll see how that goes. I would prefer to take the Seahawks if I had to bet the game, but it is not one of my favorites. Sunday Night Football with the Bengals and the Chargers. We are sitting right now. Chargers are a 1.5-point home favorite. The total's 47.5. So I think the wrong team's favored. I think the Bengals should be favored.
Yeah.
And not like a 3-point favorite. I think the Bengals should be like, I make my point spreads in the NFL. I make Cincinnati like a 1-point favorite in the game. So I should bet Cincinnati on the money line. My problem is the coaching advantage in this game. It is so weighted towards Jim Harbaugh, Jesse Minter, and the Chargers that it's not even funny. So can Joe Burrow overcome this? Maybe not against Justin Herbert. So I actually think the way that I'd like to play this game, and Maggie, this will go back to the Chiefs-Bills game. Buffalo can win, and maybe Buffalo wins a close game, and then they'll lose in January. But maybe Buffalo wins a close game on Sunday. How does Chiefs teased, a 2-team 6-point teaser, Chiefs to plus 8.5, where the Chiefs lose by 3 or 7, you win, with the Bengals to plus 7.5 on Sunday Night Football, where maybe they lose. Joe Burrow losing by 10 points? I don't think so. I guess it's possible, right? I just don't think it would happen. Chargers, Chiefs, 2-team teaser. You could also put the Dolphins in a teaser against the Raiders and feel pretty good about it on Sunday.
You know what's funny? I have no idea how good the Chargers are. Do you guys know?
Their defense is actually really good.
But how do you know they played the worst offenses around the league?
Well, I guess the quarterbacks they face have not been really good.
Except for Kyler Murray. But generally, and I hear what you're saying about the coaching advantage, Nick, but it's kind of funny the way their schedule is laid out. I think it's hard to read that team.
Well, because I've thought a lot about this, right? So, and Maggie, I think you should seriously, I think you should think about this. Buffalo, I don't think Buffalo or Baltimore is ever beating Kansas City in the playoffs, like in January. I don't think it's happening. So if you're a Bills fan, Maggie, you are, or you're out listening and you're a Ravens fan, or you want to bet the Ravens to get to the Super Bowl, I think you need someone else to beat Kansas City.
I just said this, Nick. Are you reading my brain? That I literally just said this last hour. The Bills have to have a run like your Yankees did, where they've got to get whoever the Royals and the Guardians are of the NFL. Mm-hmm. They're just going to need a little help if they're going to get to the Super Bowl, that they don't have to face the Chiefs again.
Like when the Steelers made it the 2 years with Roethlisberger, they never had to play the Patriots.
Exactly.
For example, they were able to get there because the Patriots weren't there. So if we think about it, right, in the AFC, which team would you have the most confidence? The Bengals might be the answer. The Bengals might not make it, and the Bengals defense is terrible. Is it possible? The Chargers are going to go to the playoffs.
Yep.
The Chargers are going to be a wild card team. Is it possible that the team with the best chance of beating the Chiefs in the playoffs in the AFC is the LA Chargers? Is that possible? Is the Chargers' ultimate upside this year to actually be such, because Harbaugh is a great coach, Jesse Minter is a ridiculously good defensive coordinator, and it's not like they have like a jabroni quarterback. Like Justin Herbert's the quarterback, where if they need to unleash him, they have like a top 10 quarterback that they're able to do that with. So I think the question, like trying to solve this problem, what's the Chargers' ultimate upside, is very interesting. Like if you get in the second round of the playoffs, because right now, like I think the AFC South champion will probably be the 4 seed. And the Chargers might be the top wild card team. Chargers at Texans in the wild card round. I'll take the Chargers. I'll take the Chargers to win that game. And then you probably get Buffalo, Baltimore in the second round as the 2-3. And then Chargers go to Kansas City and Arrowhead. I'm not saying that the Chargers would definitely win that game, but I mean, you give them a chance, right?
I have no idea.
Now with Harbaugh, I would.
Also, Justin Herbert looks like he's about to get murdered at about 5 times a game. Like, is that guy going to be healthy? Is Spagnuolo going to destroy him? They only averaged 2 yards a carry when they played last time.
I know, but Herbert's got all these explosive plays. 20. He doesn't throw the ball a lot right now.
Yeah, against like the Titans.
Got like 20 plus plays. All right, Nick, we're running out of time here. Your upset pick of the week. We actually haven't talked a lot of college, but your upset pick of the week, artist's choice, my friend. Let's hit the music.
Okay, so part of me, like I don't have the chutzpah to take the Bears, so I won't do that. I don't. I wish I did. Okay, how about this one? And the Chiefs don't count, right? Because they're an underdog technically.
Absolutely
that's kind
not.
That's okay. How about this one? So Devontae Adams hasn't practiced the last couple days for the Jets. I've lost so much money on the Jets. Like I'm the idiot here. Like I know, in all seriousness, like I should have the scarlet letter L for loser for betting the Jets as many times as I have. Anthony Richardson put back into the starting lineup for Indianapolis. Is it possible that Anthony Richardson's couple weeks on the bench has perhaps unlocked some of the tantalizing potential that we saw during his rookie year last year and week 1 this year against the Houston Texans? Let's take Anthony Richardson and the Indianapolis Colts to go on the road and beat the New York Jets this weekend at MetLife.
Whatever was left of E.J. Stewart's soul just leaked right out of his Jets-loving body. Nick Kostos,
Sorry,
You
EJ.
Better You Bet. He's used to it. Nick Kostos, You Better You Bet. Thank you, Nick. Have a great weekend and appreciate you.
Great, and let's lay Georgia this weekend against Tennessee. Wishing everybody minimal sweats winning bets the absolute very best of luck.
Thank you, Nick. I was thinking about that one.
Has it?
Noah ETN, though. I was
Yeah, but the other guy is good too. It doesn't feel like a lot of people believe in Tennessee. Yeah,
No,
because
well,
like everyone looked
They're
at the
quarterbacks in concussion protocols.
right. Everyone looked at the rankings and said that's okay because Georgia's going to beat Tennessee and be back into the playoff again anyway. And then I guess Tennessee is in real danger. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like everyone is discounting Tennessee a little too much because they have that great defensive line, right? You look at a mock draft and there's a lot of Tennessee on there.
Let's get more into college football next. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Exciting. You never know who you're going to see in the hallways here.
Yeah.
The brand new voice of the New York Yankees, Dave Sims, now in the building today.
He's going to be great.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Did such a great job with the Seattle Mariners for so many years and has done so much more than that. Just saying hi to both Bogish and to Perloff.
Also, just to replace it, we're also John Sterling fans, so it's cool to have that legacy go on.
And I'm a huge Ricky Ricardo fan, and I thought Ricky did a phenomenal job filling in. Ricky is such a pro.
Yeah.
And, whether it was Ricky, whether it was Dave, they both do such amazing jobs, and it's the Yankees are in good hands.
Ricky Ricardo has work to do. He has more important things going on.
Because of the Eagles.
Because he does the Spanish broadcast of the Philadelphia Eagles and is awesome at that.
Yeah.
And he's, by the way, he's so tuned in to everything. When Ricky calls a game, like he knows the backstory, so he gives me the real juice of what's going on.
Oh, yeah? You got some kind of back channel
Oh, yeah. I'm like, yeah, no, like, you
it's
know
funny,
how,
all the texts are in Spanish, though, so I don't know what you're getting.
Meryl Reese, the actual, the other...
The English language, yeah.
Yeah, he knows more about the Eagles than any human being. Like, he knows where every single body is buried. And he just can't
Big Dom?
He can't say.
Did Meryl put him there?
He knows where Big Dom put the bodies.
He's the shovel guy.
Hey.
But you know that you know how the radio guys get inside this, but
Yeah.
they can't say the things.
No.
I mean, if you want Fordham basketball dirt, I'm your guy, but I can't.
Bring it to us. What do you got?
I don't think
He's
anybody
wearing
cares.
cement shoes in the bottom of the Hudson.
Well, actually, that part where Fordham is in New York, there's a lot of people wearing cement shoes. Isn't
Yeah,
that
ever heard of the Bronx?
Yeah, that's like literally where everybody of all time has been thrown about 100 yards from where
Every
you do the game.
mafia hit of all time somehow originated from some restaurant on Arthur Avenue.
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
Bronx.
Yeah, the Bronx Zoo's right there, so you got tigers to feed if necessary.
Oh gosh, that's more
Does
of a
that
Florida
happen?
thing.
I don't think so.
Isn't that in Tiger King? Bogish has headlines for us. Hi.
And they're sponsored by Mint Mobile. Switch and get half off unlimited premium wireless at mintmobile.com/score.
It's called Ninja Tay.
Washington Commanders have hit the first rough patch of their season. 2 losses in 5 days. The defense struggling, and the rookie QB has leveled off for the moment.
On first down, Daniels goes back. He lets it fly. It's intercepted. It's intercepted by Blankenship. I believe he caught it.
Yes.
Thanks for the confirmation. The INT came in between Saquon Barkley rushing scores as the Eagles came from behind for a 26-18 win at home on Thursday Night Football. Jaden Daniels only completed 4 passes to wide receivers last night. He was held under 200 yards passing and to just 18 running.
I got to play better. Some throws I want back for sure. I think we all just got to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, how can we get better moving forward?
His Commanders now a game and a half behind the Eagles in the NFC East. The Philly win streak up to 6. And with his 146 yards, Saquon Barkley is now the league's leading rusher.
Yes.
The only game in the NBA last night gave us a little drama.
Clarkson with 5 on the clock. Now starts the play. Bullets into college. Who's unguarded and dunks? Luka forgot his man. Look at Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson with a one-hand bullet to John Collins, who grabbed it and dunked.
David Locke, Jazz
Wait a minute.
Radio.
This must be the best highlight of all time. That's a hell of a call.
They do a really good job for a team that's now 3-8, and that was their first home win of the season. But as they said, John Collins dunked because Luka decided to just not guard him.
That was a misunderstanding. I thought I was going to go hit. Then Q thought, Grimes thought he was going to go hit. It was allowed, so we misunderstood the bench. That's on me.
Okay, they misunderstood the bench is what he says, but if you watch the video, he's never even looking at John Collins, who just walks away from him and catches a pass and dunks. So
It is the textbook definition of his controller died. He did not. He simply did not pick him up.
Not even a little bit.
He was just kind of standing by the elbow and just kind of thinking about Slovenian food, I guess. I don't know.
Honestly, if I played in a league and English was my second language, every time I screwed up, I'd answer the question in my native tongue. All the good stuff I'll answer in English. All the bad stuff, nah, you're not getting my English.
Like Sammy Sosa answering questions from Congress.
Because the explanation is like, oh, I took a wrong step, or like, but him and Quentin Grimes never. He just stands there. Grimes is falling down the wing, and John Collins just walks away from Luka. It's remarkable.
It's so clear he's trying to anticipate what they think their last play is, and then they just don't have to run it because he's not guarding the guy under the basket. It's bizarre.
It's so weird.
Not cutting the guy who's cutting back door.
I don't even think
he cut. He just stood there.
He just wandered.
All right, guys, got it. It's the Mavs. It's not some brilliant defensive team. What else you got, Bo?
But it's Luka.
Yeah, who also plays no defense. Shocker.
That's the underlying point.
We know.
It's nice to say, I thought I was going to do this, but he just doesn't play. U.S. men's soccer scored in the 5th minute, hung on for a 1-0 win in Jamaica. The second and final game of this Nations League quarterfinal is Monday night in St. Louis. Now I'm done.
Bogish, fantastic. Oh, wait, you want to stay with us for a second because Nate's in Alaska. Nate has been on hold. Nate, thank you so much. Of course, we'll all remember Nate because he told us about the bear sighting that he had. The bear was at a drive-up at a KFC in Alaska, which, by the way, everyone knows you can't walk up to the drive-up, Nate.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Against
tell that
the
to
rules.
the bear.
Ha ha ha.
What's on your mind,
By
pal?
the way, there's no bear sightings right now, either here or Chicago. So
Oh.
That was worth it. Night, Chicago. Nate just put you in a body bag.
I just wanted to say one thing. I was this close from actually leaving, but I wanted to say, so you guys were talking about Connor McDavid earlier because hockey, he hit 1,000 points at 27 years old, which is insane.
Yes.
It's absolutely insane. But what I wanted to say, anybody, Ovi is about, Ovechkin, he's about 34 goals away from beating Wayne Gretzky. Do you think that is one of the things that people would literally watch on TV, that like, okay, it's going to be something that nobody would ever think that would be beaten?
Nate, it's going to become a thing like home run chases become a thing. Absolutely. I believe it. Nate, thanks, and thanks for hanging on for us. Do you guys disagree?
No, I just think the nature of hockey, a home run, the guy gets a bat, you can easily flip over him. You never know when it's going to happen in hockey. So that's tougher.
You're right, but you can't break into a broadcast, but I think we're going to be following it.
Yeah.
As closely as we would a home run chase. Okay, lots more to do. We got picks on the way and more.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Philadelphia Eagles now squarely first place NFC East. They beat the Commanders last night. It was a really tight game until Saquon Barkley got a hold of things. Then it wasn't. 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns from Barkley. That offseason signing has obviously paid off like gangbusters. And, you know, really the Eagles' defense is kind of what got things started. Commanders decide to go for what should be a very controversial now 4th and 2. The snap was kind of botched, and the Eagles sniffed it out. So Jaden Daniels of the Commanders gets no yardage on the play. Then Barkley scores on the ensuing drive, and then Daniels, trying to do way too much, throws a pretty bad interception, and the Eagles and Barkley scored off that drive as well, and there was just not any type of time for the Commanders to get themselves back in the game.
Right. It was shaping up to be a disaster for the Eagles because they were outplaying the Commanders. They just were missing field goals, and they couldn't really knock it in the red zone. I do not understand what Dan Kuhn was doing because the Commanders couldn't block Jalen Carter, and therefore their short yardage game was all messed up.
Yep.
They had no chance on that 4th and 2 play. It almost fell apart about 3 different times. I think that they realized they weren't able to handle Saquon Barkley in the offensive line anymore. The Eagles were going to score. The better team won last night.
Yep.
The Commanders, they can beat a bad team. I don't think they're an elite team, but that's okay. You know what? We're not sitting here and tearing the Commanders apart just because they're not going to knock off the Lions.
That's true. I'm just curious, we get into these things when it's halfway through the season, like we feel like we know everything. And yes, I think Jaden Daniels is obviously going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, but I don't believe that the entire story of the season has been written yet when it comes to the Commanders and specifically the rookie quarterback and their offensive coordinator. I think that it's possible things feel and look a lot different, and to be honest, maybe not as good at the end of the year as they felt in the first half of the season when the Commanders have been gangbusters and the culture's turned around and everyone's talking about Daniels and how ready for the NFL he looks, and all that's true. But it's an offensive coordinator who's known for second half swoons as a coach. It's a rookie quarterback who could be hitting a wall and is also maybe dealing with some rib injury and stuff like that. So I just think we might be feeling a different way about this rookie class and what the pecking order is by the end of the season than we do right now.
I 100% disagree. On the pecking order, it's going to be Daniels 1, big drop, and then a sort of a two-way tie between Nix and May, and then 4th will be Caleb Williams.
Wow.
See, but I don't think that's hot. That's where we're at right now.
I know, but I'm really curious to see what the Bears, if they look any different with a new offensive coordinator and everyone's sort of feet to the fire now, right? Because you knew that the coaching staff maybe came in feeling a little on the hot seat, but now everyone's been really put on alert. And they're facing the Packers this week. If the Bears beat the Packers in a new offensive coordinator bump or what have you, then Caleb is back in play as being, the best quarterback from this draft.
I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, to say do you think he's back in play to win Rookie of the Year? No. So how can he be back in play to be the best quarterback from this draft? I guess it doesn't really matter theoretically. I just don't see that happening. They just lost 19-3 to the Patriots in Chicago. That'd be such a gigantic leap for them unless Thomas Brown, the new offensive coordinator, is Bill Walsh
wizard.
reincarnated.
Yeah.
I just don't see how you go from scoring 3 points at home against the Patriots to getting healthier Packers team.
Well, this could be one of those things where Jaden Daniels wins Rookie of the Year, but Caleb actually ends up having the better career, and this looks like a trivia question that might trip people up.
When you say Caleb, you meant Drake?
You're crazy.
I honestly, now I think you have a three-way debate between who's the best out of those three. But Drake May's going to be in that mix. Yeah, I don't see the Caleb thing even close right now.
855-212-4227. Okay, got a few more big, massive, gigantic games this weekend. Okay? Big, gigantic games this weekend. Let's throw out a little who needs this more. And we're going to play this real fast, okay? Manny, maybe I'll take a little music. I'm throwing this curveball to you guys live on the air. Why don't we do a little bit of who does this mean more to with all of our big NFL games? EJ, throw one out. We're going to do this real fast.
All right, so rapid fire here. Let's begin with Ravens-Steelers. Division rivalry here.
Obviously, it's got to be way more to the Steelers. Yeah. To me, the Ravens, I think the Lamar Jackson being 1-3 against the Steelers, it just feels like a silly stat that doesn't mean anything. He's barely played against this team because of injury.
I agree it's with the Steelers, but the thing is, the Steelers own mobile quarterbacks. Tomlin hasn't figured out, so I do think it means something. I do think that game means something to the Ravens because their record is actually not quite as good as it should be because they're probably the best team in the AFC. But the Steelers, like this is finally we get to see, are they for real?
Who's next?
Let's go Chiefs-Bills. Close to Maggie's heart here.
I think people think it's the Bills, and yeah, they can't get blown out, but this means more to the Chiefs because they're trying to go for the undefeated season.
Yeah, finally!
Yes, that was Tyler Bass finally hitting a long field goal, and I was celebrating.
They're trying to go for the undefeated season. The fact that they mailed in last week against the Broncos and the week before against Tampa Bay, what indication is that they're going for the undefeated season? They literally just had to block a 35-yard field goal, an extra point from the Broncos to beat the Broncos in KC.
And they'd been setting it up all game.
They don't care at all about the regular season. They don't care about undefeated. They don't care what happens on this game. They care about the postseason.
Well, that's how the Bills should feel, too. And I don't know if it is that way.
You know what? You're right. Like, these are two teams that should have higher goals.
Let's talk Niners-Seahawks, a little NFC West action here.
I think it's the Niners because the Niners are really an NFC threat. The Seahawks might sneak into the playoffs. Seahawks are going to need a new quarterback next year. So, what are we really doing with the Seahawks? For the Niners, now we're in the situation with the Cardinals where every game actually matters. You can't just throw away special teams games left or right and make the playoffs.
I have to agree with Perloff. The 49ers have way more at stake here, and if they lose this game, it's going to be official panic time for 49ers and their fans. Okay, last one.
All right, let's go to Sunday night then. Let's go Chargers-Bengals.
It's got to be the Bengals. If they lose this game, almost zero margin for error the rest of the way, even if they want to sneak into the playoffs. And we would be talking about a fully healthy Joe Burrow year where they do not make the postseason. That's a failure by all accounts of the organization. You cannot waste seasons when he's healthy, considering how much injury history he's had.
I'm telling you, it's the kicker. They do not have faith, and they're just like the Niners. They have blown games in bizarre ways again and again and again. Also, can T. Higgins play, for God's sakes? Just, dude, play. It's Sunday night. Are you ever going to play again? You wanted this big paycheck. You got to actually play some football.
There you go. That's a little who needs it more this weekend. All right, we're fitting a lot in right now. Do we have time? You want to do it? Okay. On Fridays, we got to make some picks.
Maggie and Perloff's NFL picks.
We never stop on this show. That's it. You just go one thing, right to the next, right to the next. Just hitting you from all angles. EJ, what are our records?
Okay, so Maggie, you had a rough week. Last week you went 2-3. So now you are 30-20 on the year. So not a bad overall record. Perloff, you had a better week. You were 3-2. So now you're 27-23.
I mean, we're both crushing it right now. How we do this on the Maggie and Perloff show: 2 college picks, 1 over/under, 1 against the spread, 3 NFL picks, over/under, against the spread, and a player prop. Perloff, I'll give you the floor first to talk about college football.
All right, college. I've been doing really well on Colorado, but I'm not going to pick them for my spread game this week. I'm going to take the over on Colorado. I feel like LeJohntay Wester is unstoppable. Somehow Utah sucks the energy out of every game, but I've still got faith in the Buffs. I'm going over 45 in that game because my pick, close your ears, Boise.
Oh, don't do that.
Yes, I've been studying San Jose State football for years. No. I actually, at a certain point, this spread is crazy, right? San Jose State gets plus 14 against Boise, who's been playing some close games lately. Listen, I'm all about the Ashton Genty Heisman campaign. That seems like too many points. So I'm going to have San Jose State plus 14. Whoa!
Okay. I don't love that for our fans in Boise.
We're on in San Jose, too. Let's be fair.
For my college picks, I know it's tough to bet unders when it comes to college football because it feels rare, but Tennessee, Georgia, I don't see where the scoring's really going to come here. So 47, I'm going to go under with this one. It's questionable about Nico Iamaleava and whether he's going to play the quarterback. And also for Trevor Etienne for Georgia, he's also out. So you've got major offensive weapons on both sides who are either may not play and one won't play in this game. So I'll take the under. For my against the spread, have you guys noticed a little of the disrespect heading Texas's way? How Texas would be the highest-ranked SEC team in the college football playoff. Who have they beaten? They lost to Georgia at home by 2 touchdowns. So I think Texas has got to put on some style points a little bit just so that the conversation dies down a little around them. Texas at Arkansas, I'm going to lay the 12. I think they win this game by 2 touchdowns.
You know, it's a really critical factor in that Tennessee under is how do they return Carson Beck's interceptions? Do they just take a knee or do they try and run them to the house? Honestly, I feel like a defensive touchdown is your worst enemy because you're right. I've seen those offenses. It's going to be hard for them to get. For Tennessee's offense, it doesn't scare anyone. I like both your picks. Okay, NFL. I don't know if I'm jinxing you here. I didn't want to bet the actual game. Bills, Chiefs. I'm going to go over 45.5, mostly because you convinced me they're never going to be able to cover Travis Kelce. This feels like a 26-23 game. I think that was the score in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
It's going to hover around there, but I'm going to watch this game gleefully, and unlike you, I will not be stressed. I will just be rooting for points. Taking the over, Bills, Chiefs. My spread game is so untalked about, but this is a bet against the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints won against Atlanta last week, but they tried desperately to lose. I'm taking the Browns +1 against the Saints because I think the Saints are terrible. That's all the logic I got. Speaking of terrible, I'm going to go with an under on my total.
Okay.
Cooper Rush, 185 passing yards. That's not a lot of passing yards, but Houston Texans defense is awesome. I am kind of hedging that maybe Trey Lance gets into the game. Cooper Rush, under 185 passing yards for my prop.
It makes a lot of sense. You really jumped off that Cooper Rush bandwagon pretty fast.
I am. I jumped up because I am. But by the way, I feel like if I lose this one, I'm kind of happy anyway because red-headed quarterbacks, I'm all about that, right?
So funny. Such an odd way to pick a game and a person to root for. But no, I get what you're doing. Okay, for my 3 NFL picks, I'm actually going to change a little bit on the fly here. I get this is the biggest spread of the entire NFL season, and I don't care. I'm going to take the Lions, and I'm going to lay the 14. They're welcoming the Jags into Detroit. Which team is good and which team is bad?
Perfect.
The Mackenzie Jones experience coming your way.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, what's his name? McCorkle. What is Mac Jones' real name? Look that up.
This is why we call him Mac. Just Mac.
Michael McCorkle.
McCorkle.
Yeah, McCorkle.
He's playing football against the best team in the league, Detroit Lions, this Sunday. And Maggie's advising, don't worry about the 14.
I'm saying don't worry about the 14. And I feel comfortable with that because the Lions have blown out teams that I think are around about the same skill level as the Jags, like the Titans.
Remember what they did to the Cowboys?
It was bad. There you go. Give me the Lions, and I'm going to lay the 14, even though it's a big spread.
They'll never see it coming.
They'll never see it coming. Packers, Bears. That's going to be my over at 40.5. The reason why I want to take the over here is I am betting that this Caleb Williams and Bears offense is going to look better now that they've made an offensive coordinator switch. And also now I got the Green Bay Packers coming off their bye, so I'm thinking that Jordan Love is going to be feeling pretty good. Give me the over 40.5. That is just not a big number.
That number is ridiculous.
It's very small, right?
That is a definite hit. I'm betting on that right now.
Okay. You're allowed to. And then for my player prop, EJ, close your ears. I've got Jonathan Taylor, and I believe it was 20.5 carries against your New York Jets.
Why are you doing that to EJ? Because if he gets 21 carries, the Colts are winning that game.
I'm just saying it's because I watched the Jets.
He's a bum.
And I don't think their defense has been able to stop the run very effectively.
Don't be a freaking weirdo.
That would also be an accurate assessment, Maggie.
Yeah, thanks. It's just eyes and ears and a brain. I have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah, but if he breaks a bunch of 60-yard runs, he's not going to need to get to 21. No, you're right. Nick Kostos was on advised pick the Colts. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, I just think it's going to have to be about the run game. Anthony Richardson and handing the ball off to Jonathan Taylor, it's a good way to win a game. And don't forget, you got a Jonathan Taylor homecoming. He's from Jersey. I don't know if that plays in. But anyway, 20.5. There you go. And those are the Maggie and Perloff picks. Perloff, just recap yours really fast.
Okay, I have the Colorado over 45 against Utah. San Jose State plus 14 against Boise. Browns +1. Give me the point against the Saints. And Cooper Rush under 185 passing yards. Bills Chiefs over 45.5.
Okay, and for me, I'm going to take the Tennessee Georgia under 47. I'm going to take Texas, and I'm going to lay the 12. They're on the road to play Arkansas. Sorry to our friends in Arkansas. We know we're on there. This is more about Texas than you guys. That's my college. For Detroit, I will lay the 14 points. They are welcoming the Jags into town. I will take the Packers-Bears over 40.5 and give me Jonathan Taylor over 20.5 carries against the New York Jets.
Not for betting purposes, but do you have a lean in Georgia, Tennessee?
Yeah, I'm leaning Georgia.
Okay. Well, I know you did your total on that one.
Yeah, I did the under. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I feel like this is a desperation game for Georgia. Losing, you're out. So the desperation factor to me is the biggest factor.
Same for Tennessee, though. Okay, there you go. Those are our picks. We'll put them up on our social media at Maggie and Pearl on X. All right, we're going to unpack the Tyson-Paul fight in only a way that we can. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. You know what? It's really fun to make fun of Manny's New York Giants for giving me Saquon Barkley, but Andrew Bogus, who's going to give us updates right now, you've given up on the Giants so bad. I take no glee in your misery.
Yeah, you can't get me with the Giants. Mets, Rangers, that's your targets, but the Giants, I got nothing.
Well, we just found out that Bogus's Hammurabi's Code style of parenting just made it to a company-wide email that circulates to everybody.
Yeah. Yep.
That your eye for an eye, I step on one of your Legos, therefore I'm okay with my child stepping on a shard of glass.
Correct.
Made the company email?
And I feel like I should reply all because it feels like my message is getting lost in all this because this is how my wife presented it to the kids last night as she played it for them. As if I want them to step on glass. I do not. I don't put glass down that they have to walk through.
Your house is not booby trapped?
All I said is them stepping on a tiny piece of glass would make up for the umpteen million times I thought I needed a foot amputation because I stepped on one of their Lego pieces. That's all. I don't want it to happen, but if it did, I'd have limited sympathy.
Like, Daddy was also dropping you out of the crib. Like, what else is this time
No,
for?
I just slept and didn't hear them cry.
That's unforgivable.
Thanks.
What headlines do we have today?
Could things be going any better in Philadelphia if we ignore the Phillies losing to the Mets and the Sixers load managing into the lottery? The Eagles have increased their NFC East lead with their 6th win in a row, and Jason Kelce can sing.
When my doobie smoking, Santa puts my name upon his nice list.
He said, son, you're famous in Philly. You'll always be famous in Philly.
And you know you'll always be winning. Whoop. When you're coming home for Christmas. Whoop. And I don't want to see those tears again. You know Santa drives an Astro van.
Whoop. All right, so the band is Mount Joy. The song is Astro Van. Normally about drugs and Jesus, but they have switched to be about drugs and Santa and Christmas, and the deep voice in that song is Jason Kelce singing back up to Matt Quinn of Mount Joy.
Mount Joy, fantastic band.
Great band.
Great Philly band.
Except for the Philly portion of their being.
Well, wait a minute. I thought where you were going with this was Jason Kelce has a Christmas song
So,
with Stevie Nicks.
This is, I don't know how many years Perloff might, if he's listening, which is probably not, would know better. The Eagles' offensive line has put out a Christmas album for multiple years, and this song is part of this year's release.
Got it.
But the other one that you meant, the
one.
Stevie Nicks one, apparently is doing better than Mariah Carey's
All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Wow.
Right.
Yes, it's number one right now.
Is it
Listen,
really?
It's November 15th.
Right.
Why we're even playing Christmas music right now is basically a crime. However, it is number one. Christmas
That's
music
amazing.
doesn't start till after Thanksgiving.
Agreed.
Society. Get it together, everyone.
They showed a picture of the two of them, Jason Kelce and Stevie Nicks. They're an adorable duet. Adorable.
Who's doing the heavy lifting here? This is Stevie Nicks is essentially executing the tush push of this song. She's the secret sauce, not Kelce.
I don't know what that. I think out of context, that sounded really weird.
It makes
total sense. Yeah. And speaking of the tush push, that's how the Eagles got the first of their 3 fourth-quarter touchdowns last night. They trailed the Commanders 10-6 entering that final period. Hurts got tush pushed in, and then Saquon Barkley ran in 2 from distance, and they had a 26-18 win. It was far from pretty, but it was victory number 8 for Nick Sirianni's club.
Yeah, it was a good win. Anytime you can get a win in this league, it's huge. And that's a good opponent. So much respect for the coaches on that opposite team and the players on that Washington team.
And that respect going up for Washington head coach Dan Quinn because he went for it on 4th and 2 instead of a go-ahead field goal about midway through the 4th. The Eagles stopped that Jaden Daniels run, which led to Barkley's first touchdown. Then they picked off Daniels, set up Barkley's second. The Eagle win streak is 6. The Commanders lose for the second time in 5 days. So Philly's lead atop the NFC East is now a game and a half. College football. Florida says freshman QB DJ Lagway is back tomorrow against LSU after missing last weekend's loss to Texas with a hamstring injury. And lastly, from sports where you kick balls.
Cardoso's ball through the middle. Pulisic slides it in towards Ricardo Pepe! And it's Pepe's goal inside the first 5 minutes! Ricardo Pepe handed the start by Maurizio Pochettino! And it doesn't take him long to find the net.
That's from TNT last night. Ricardo Pepe scoring early. It stood up. U.S. men's soccer starting its Nations League quarterfinal with a 1-0 win in Jamaica. The second leg is Monday night in St. Louis. The Tampa Bay Rays will play next season at Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. The Yankees are reportedly getting about $15 million for letting the Rays use the home of their single-A affiliate. Hal Steinbrenner said in a statement yesterday they know how important it was to keep the organization near Tampa. And it took Connor McDavid 659 games. It took Wayne Gretzky 424. McDavid scoring his 1,000th career point in last night's 3-2 OT win over Nashville. Mario Lemieux and Mike Bossy also got to the milestone in fewer games. Gretzky, Lemieux, and Steve Yzerman were younger than the 27-year-old McDavid. Guys, back to you.
Bogish, thank you so much. Fantastic job. All right, we're going to do a quick schedule switch here because we are delighted to welcome in the new radio voice of the New York Yankees, the one and only Dave Sims. And Dave, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, Andrew Bogish, I know you're familiar with all of us, but thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you so much. And to hear that song, now I really know I'm at home. You know, it's like start spreading the news.
You know, Dave, we're on all across the country
Right.
here on the Infinity Sports Network, and we're on in Seattle. So before we get to the New York of it all, you know, you are such a legend and staple of the Mariners and their broadcast. Before we switch gears to the Yankees, which I know everyone's so excited about, how about a word for the Mariners and all the amazing years you had there?
Well, I tell you, I put out a video last night on Instagram, and I think it went everywhere, thanking folks in Seattle for their kindness over the years. You know, when I first got there, Dave Niehaus, who eventually went in the Hall of Fame, and he had been their guy for a long time, he and Rick Riz. And Dave Niehaus was there from day one. A lot of losing seasons. And so he was the conscience, he was the heartbeat of the area, and to have played my part in it for 18 years, doing radio and TV, and to have met so many great people, sponsors, advertisers, fans. And I think one memory is a lot of great memories, but one memory comes to mind in the playoffs. We made the playoffs finally a few years ago, and we went 18 innings against the Astros.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Pena beats us with a home run. But for the last 9 innings, those fans, full house, stood the entire time and cheered their lungs out, their hearts out. And that speaks really well of Seattle as a sports town and their love of baseball and the hunger for a championship.
Yep.
So many thanks to everybody in Seattle. Much love, much respect. And as I said in my video last night, go Mariners, go Yankees!
Dave, you did a lot of sports, but you remind me of something, baseball. You grew up in Philadelphia, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like my connection to the broadcast team, the connection to a baseball announcer is just different than anything in sports.
Totally.
It's more emotionally tied.
Good word, because I had on Instagram DM 2 emotional videos from 2 young men. I grew up with you. Yeah. You're the reason I know and love baseball. You're the reason I'm a Mariner fan. You're the reason, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And that's deep.
Yeah.
But it is true of all the sports, you're going to have a relationship with fans. I mean, I hear from people, hey, man, you're in our house every night.
Yep.
Don't call the cops, okay? And it is an emotional tie. It really is. And like during my time, particularly on radio, even on TV, you could tell by the pitch and timbre of my voice that the Mariners are going great. You could hear it. And if they were going poorly, I mean, I would tell the truth, but you get it's like, but then with that explosion of energy, here in the 8th inning, swing, you drive deep left field, you just. So, I grew up in Philly listening to a guy named Bill Campbell who.
Oh, yeah.
Right, okay, so you're from
and the legend.
Oh,
the legend.
Bill, he was my first guy because he did the Phillies. Actually, I first discovered him doing the Eagles, old enough to remember the '60 championship. Then he goes on to do the Dick Allen Phillies. Then he did the Dr. J 76ers. So he's one of my idols. And before he passed, I got a chance to talk to him and tell him that. He was like, "Hey, thanks. It's very kind of you." I said, "No, you have no idea."
Yeah. I think we all have that guy.
Totally.
I know Maggie with the Mets.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
Yeah.
And John Sterling is that for a lot of people.
No doubt about it.
I always say listening to John Sterling was like putting on a comfortable pair of slippers and a robe. That's sort of how it felt. But, you have a different style, and your style is phenomenal, Dave. And we're such big fans of yours. Do you think about what people might be expecting? The funny home run calls, and you have your own catchphrases, which are great. We love the hey now and everything. When Dave Sims is doing hey now, you get goosebumps on your arm. But would you want to continue doing the fun home run calls that Sterling did, or do you feel like you got to let that go?
John's John, Dave is Dave. And it's like when Dave Niehaus used to say, fly away. You got to go somewhere else. He would do, with somebody, bases loaded, swing and a drive, deep left field, get out the right, bread and mustard, grandma's salami time. That's his. That is his. And I don't touch that. I respect it. Dave was a good guy. He was good to me. But as the song goes, I got to be me.
Yep.
And, you're going to hear, giddy up and gone. You're going to hear, hey, now. You're going to hear, hey, he rang the bell. I mean, you're going to hear a lot of that. That's me. And that's what I bring to the table. And that's what the, FAN and the Yankees, they put their faith in me to continue on what I do.
Let me ask you about the team you will be calling. Obviously, we watch them very closely. When we're deep into the fall this year, is the World Series next year? Are they going to get over that hump?
I tell you, I want to see how the guys who return, the after effects of that World Series, and particularly the 5th inning. And I want to see what kind of bounce back they have. I mean, I was agog and aghast watching the 5th inning like everybody else was in that last game. I was like, I've never seen anything, certainly not in a World Series game, and I can't remember anything like that in a regular season game. It was heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. It happens. It's baseball. I mean, that's the answer to almost everything in baseball. So we'll see how they bounce back. I think the moves will be made to fortify the team, to strengthen the team, and knowing how prideful pro athletes are. Hey, man, we got to erase that, and we got to take it to the next level.
Dave Sims is joining us. So pleased that he could stop by for a moment. It was just announced yesterday. It was confirmed that you are the new radio voice of the New York Yankees. And I'm sure you always feel this when you're calling any professional sporting event, that it's at any time it's possible you're calling the greatest moments of somebody's life, right? That you become the soundtrack for the fans, but for the athlete themselves. With the Yankees and their history, not that the Mariners don't have a great history, but with the Yankees and their history, do you think about my calls are the ones that are be written into the history book of the team that is one of the most storied franchises in all of North America? Maybe the world.
Not specifically until you just said it, but yeah,
No
that's
pressure,
certainly
Dave.
that's certainly on. That's on the table. And to your point, I can remember it would have been the 23 season when we had Teoscar Hernandez, and I'd taken a day off, or I was on TV or something. It might have been a day off. And he had hit a home run, so I see him the next day. Hey, man, I wanted to hear your home run call for me. So, I'm aware of it. It's not something I think about. I'm focused on the game and, looking forward to working with Susan. We're going to have some laughs. We're going to tell stories. But my whole thing as a Marty Glickman disciple, and you youngsters look at Marty Glickman, who was the rabbi of all New York sportscasters of our generation. Tell me what's going on in the game. Particularly, now I'm focused solely on radio now. On TV, you're adding captions. But on radio, hey, the left fielder just took a couple of steps to his left. Let's see what this pitch is. Here's a 2-2. Yep. That kind of detail. And he always said, I want to know what it looks like, what it smells like, who's moving, how's the defense set, did the batter make an adjustment? We have Victor Robles in Seattle. I saw him, and I was on radio a couple of times. I said, Victor just moved up in the box. He's looking for a breaking ball. I mean, he took a step and a half. The pitcher's into his wind, and he moved up about 1.5 feet, and sure enough, he got a breaking ball. Line drive, right field, base hit.
Yep.
So that kind of detail, I pride myself on that. And then, energy level, I've never heard for that. So I mean, I used to do when I was here when I was over at FAN, actually before that WNBC, before it became. And if there were no games on at night, I did 7:30 to midnight with Mike Breen helping me, producing and coming on the air, and we do segments. So, and I can remember a guy used to call, "How do you stay energized? It's 11:45." I said, "It's my job. I love it, and come on."
Dave, now that we're under the same corporate umbrella, you might not know, there's a lot of famous play-by-play people who come to me for big calls. Remember when I gave Kevin Kugler the Final Four call?
Dave, don't listen to him.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen, he's going to give you a bad call, and it's going to be like an earworm.
Yeah.
And he wanted Kevin Kugler for Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski's last name, to go, Coach K's okay.
Yeah.
Don't listen to him, Dave.
Believe me, I've had a lot of people volunteering things. Rarely do they get on the air.
Very wise.
Aaron,
Dave.
you can't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
What's I tell you?
Yeah.
Don't listen to this
Dave.
guy.
Believe me, that's not my deal. So
you might not
you're
know
good.
this
You're
when you
good.
took the job. When you took the job, that you have a gold mine over here when you need it. I mean, not that you will. Just remember,
No,
if you
I'm good,
need
man.
to call the bullpen at any
mucho gracias, but no por favor.
Understood. We'll talk after.
Yeah. Offered, rescinded. Dave Sims, congratulations on this awesome new experience for you, and in some ways, everything coming full circle with you
coming
back
back
in New York.
home. Really,
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We're really excited.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Speaking of things coming full circle, this has turned into a very interesting final hour of the show. We've got a little spectacle of a fight you may have heard of. Mike Tyson is back in the ring tonight fighting Jake Paul. My brother is covering the fight for New York Magazine. My brother is a best-selling author.
Brilliant
My brother's
writer.
Investigative journalist.
Yep.
And he's got a soft spot for boxing. We're checking my brother is in Dallas, Texas, covering the fight. We're going to do that next. Don't move. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. All right, everyone promised they would be on their best behavior, and I'm holding you to it. I'm holding you and everyone here. You'd be on your best behavior because we got a very special guest joining the show now. I've made some references in passing at times to my older brother, Jeff Gray, best-selling author, investigative reporter, obviously the star of our family. That he
No, that's not true.
doing the real work out there.
Co-star.
While I'm, yakety-yakking with you about God knows what, my brother's out there doing the real work. And so my brother's always had this real, I don't say soft spot, but just a fascination with Mike Tyson and with boxing. And now Tyson is fighting Jake Paul tonight. My older brother, Jeff, is there covering the fight for New York Magazine. He's joining us now from a hotel room in Dallas. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, everybody. Great to see you.
Okay, so...
By the way, Jeff, Maggie is so anxious right now that we're going to embarrass her. So please help us embarrass her. This has been so much fun.
There's a couple stories I think you could go to. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, Andrew, if I can give you some pro tips here, don't try tickling her. If you want to keep all the seats dry, don't try tickling her.
I think that's an HR violation, though.
Yeah, it's not that Perloff can't tickle me like you used to when we were kids until I wet my pants. Thank you for that, Jeff. We're not even 2 minutes into the interview.
Yes.
Trying to do something serious here, guys. How dare you? Like Mike Tyson fighting Jake Paul. I actually think the tickling pee your pants story is right on par for this fight because, Jeff, you wrote about him for New York Magazine, and we'll get to the news you broke about how bad Tyson's ulcer was in just a moment. But a lot of people are looking at this like it's a total spectacle. Some people are looking at it like it's kind of sad. You followed Tyson's career, and you actually are I don't say legitimate boxing reporter, but you cover fights that are very serious with people's real careers on the line. How are you looking at it?
I'm looking at it. This is an exciting, serious, fun, interesting fight. And whether there's 14-ounce gloves or 10-ounce gloves, who cares? This is there's so much interesting stakes here. You have the tale of experience versus youth, the young lion and the old lion, which never gets boring. You have the incredible comeback story of one Mike Gerard Tyson, who came from the brinks of death recently with his ulcer, but also at the end, a roller coaster of addiction and abuse. We were out to dinner last night with some of his old friends, telling stories about how, rescuing him from the brinks of despair. He's a very American tragedy in a way, and has finally come in this last chapter for redemption in his view, in his tale, in his narrative arc. And then on the other side, you have Jake Paul, who's like this modern kind of like e-com, content kind of like marketing machine, and he's got his people too. And I think that the fight itself, so that those are the narrative stakes, but then the technical nature of the fight is also very interesting because Mike fights in a very unique style. Called the peekaboo, which hasn't been around in like 40 years. And Jake is almost like a traditional kind of white collar boxer. So to see those styles, those ages, I think it's a fantastic fight.
Jeff, in your story, excellent story in New York Magazine, you said that Mike Tyson was actually close to death with this bleeding ulcer on the plane. I'm curious, how did this not become a story? You noted that they kind of were able to bury it. I feel like because this fight's been getting a lot of attention for a long time, why wasn't that let out to the public?
Well, what was let out to the public was he had a bleeding ulcer, which was true. The other details that Tyson revealed in our conversation was that he had 8 blood transfusions, and the doctor told him, it was close, and he had lost all this weight and had to recover. And incredibly, he's gone from basically two training camps, one to prepare for the July date, and then now starting again after this. So I don't know if they really wanted to cover it up. It's just that they didn't share the entire actual story.
My brother is joining us. My older brother, Geoffrey Gray. Jeff Gray, best-selling author, investigative reporter. And actually, I should mention this. We're on in Portland, Oregon, and we're on all over Oregon. If my brother's voice is sounding a little familiar to you or his name sounds familiar, my brother is one of the foremost experts in this country on a person named D.B. Cooper. A case called D.B. Cooper wrote a best-selling book called Skyjack, and it's all the Cooperites, Jeff. And I was thinking it's November, which is really their time to shine because we're coming up again on the anniversary of the a still unsolved hijacking of an airplane that happened, and Portland has become like ground zero for all the Cooperites. So for all those people, that's why my brother might be sounding familiar. But we're talking about the Tyson-Paul fight now because my brother got to interview Tyson and is there covering the fight for New York Magazine. You know what's funny, Jeff? We've been going a little bit back over Tyson's career just, with this fight tonight against Jake Paul. And we do something called the Great Debate on Wednesdays, and we did the greatest boxing match of all time. And none of us picked a Tyson fight. You know, he is obviously has so many, you know, the story of boxing can't be told without Mike Tyson. But do you think we were right to say that none of us, all 5 of us on the show, no one picked a Tyson fight? We picked Ali Foreman, Ali Frazier, Gaddy Ward. Was it EJ? What did you pick again?
I had Hagler Hearns.
Hagler Hearns, and Manny, you picked
Canelo and Triple G the second.
the second Canelo Triple G. None of us took a Tyson fight. Were we wrong on that?
Well, you know, wrong, right? You know, it doesn't matter. These are all great fights.
Mm-hmm.
These are all great wars. You know, all the fights you guys mentioned are known for their thrilling combat. You know, the Gotti War, just to see these epic, not to say pummel fests, but these really balanced wars. You know, the fight so in Tyson, in a way, outside of, you know, some moments in the Evander Holyfield fight and others, he was so dominant coming up in his career. He was such a force that most of his fights, you know, half of his knockouts were all in the first round. The most defining fight to him, which I thought was interesting, was the James Buster Douglas fight, in which it was one of the greatest upsets in history, and he lost. And it was weird, you know, why, Mike, do you think that your greatest loss is your greatest fight? You know, I thought that was a really interesting thing. And he said, because I proved I could really take a punch.
Wow.
You know, despite really kind of not training and being sort of, you know, personally all in toil after his trainer died, and throughout his sort of some chaos of his earlier career. I thought that was interesting that he picked that to be his best fight, even though he lost.
Jeff, would you put Mike Tyson on your Mount Rushmore, say your top 4 great heavyweights of all time?
He must be mentioned. You know, he must be mentioned because of the youngest heavyweight champion and that accomplishment itself. Going from literally reformatory school and the trajectory of being, you know, he had 38 arrests by the time he was 13. You know, Mike Tyson never thought he would live very long, and his friends are all, you know, he's paid for a lot of funerals, as he says. So attention must be paid to those feats. That said, there was a point in Mike's career where he never, due to a lot of factors, prison, et cetera, was never truly able to ascend to the zenith. You know, he's a big ancient history buff. He was never able to get to the those Greek temples, you know. And I think that he sees this fight as his elevator there. And this is why it's so important to him for people to remember who he was, because so much pressure since he was a young child or teenager. He was designed to be this person to this moment, to reach this, and he never quite did. And I think that this is the moment that he thinks he can get there, and then beyond. In his mind, he think, you know, there's talk among people close to him about who's he going to fight next if he gets past Jake Paul.
Wow. All right, Jeff, we only got about 2 minutes left in the entire show. Thanks for doing this. What's your prediction? Mike Tyson's a big underdog.
Oof. You know, I can't say, but I see a couple things happening. Jake Paul is a very limited boxing talent. He's only started, you know, in his 20s, right? And you have to give him credit for standing in there. But his greatest punch is a right hand. And Tyson is a hooker and has got a left hook. He has other punches too. But I really see the fight kind of being a kind of like a combination between the left hand, the left hook, and the right hand. And boxing experts will tell you that often a right hand beats a left hook. Now, is it Paul's right hand beats Tyson's left hook at 58, or does Tyson is he just too much of a boxing talent to last into the middle rounds? You know, people say 2 minutes a round. 2 minutes is a long time.
Yeah. It feels like eternity. All right, we left 30 seconds left for Jeff to embarrass me more.
Just one. All right, we all have these Maggie Greg. We have to have you on just to talk about Maggie. Here's my question about Maggie. Has she always been this competitive? And I don't even mean that as a dig. She is hyper competitive.
You know, even in her umpire days when she was umpiring softball and Little League baseball, she was always hyper prepared. You know.
Oh yeah. And, but I was wondering, board games where did fights break out as kids?
You know, we tortured. I tortured Maggie for many years, right? There wasn't really much competition, I'll be honest. You know, it was kind of like a one-sided sport. And I don't know what that figures into her preparedness. You know, But she approaches sports journalism like an athlete approaches sports, and she never shows up unprepared. So
awesome.
I'll save that.
Well,
and I will say this to you, Andrew, is that I'm happy to talk Maggie all day long. But we're in our family, we're quietly jealous of you because you kind of get to spend more time with Maggie than we do these days. So,
listen, I'm just glad that the number of camel clutches that I got put in as a child never made it into this interview until the very last second. Jeff, we're all out of time. Thank you so much. Enjoy the fight tonight.
Yep.
Have fun. Say hi to Mike for us. We'll see you soon.
Ciao, guys.
All right, see ya. Love you. My brother, Geoffrey Gray.
Wow.
Best-selling author, fighting. He's covering the fight tonight. Mike Tyson, Jake Paul.
Now I'm in. Now I'm going to watch. You guys got me. Fine. I'm in.
Doesn't my brother sound like a writer?
Oh, my God. And his story is awesome. Go read it. It's really good.
New York Magazine. We all just got a little smarter. Thank you, EJ Stewart. Thank you, Manny Rodriguez. Thank you to Andrew Bogish, Andrew Kaplan, Nick Kostos, Dave Sims, the Weedos, the Coffee Drinkers.
Legacy doesn't mean nothing.